you go. I have we're all here.
In accordance with Section 5 of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, be advised that a notice of this meeting was made by posting on the bulletin board, town hall, and mailing to the officially designated newspapers a listing of the meeting dates annually, indicating that this meeting will take place at Town Hall at 7 p.m. on May 20th, 2024.
Joseph Caulfield.
Here.
Chandru Harjani.
Here.
Amy Lawrence.
Here.
Gary Rosen.
Here.
Regina Truitt.
Here.
Priscilla Surratt.
Here.
Zhang Peng.
Yeah.
Jessica Glad.
Here.
Craig Petner.
Here. Good evening, everyone. We're going to start with our memorializations. We have no minutes this evening, correct?
No, next.
So our first memorialization is calendar 394623, Conway Quee 2, Winding Way, Short Hills. Any corrections or changes to that memorialization? Who is eligible?
Who is on? Joseph Caulfield, Chandru, Gary, Regina, Priscilla, Zhang, Jessica.
Can I have a motion?
Move approval, calendar 3946.
And a second?
I can second.
Thank you, Sandra.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandru Harjani.
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Priscilla Surratt.
Yes.
Zhang Peng.
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Next up, calendar 397124, Shweta Deveti, 404 Weatherbridge Road, Short Hills. Any corrections or changes? Who would be eligible?
Eligible are Joseph Caulfield, Chandru Harjani, Gary Rosen, Regina Truitt, Priscilla Surratt, Zhang Peng, Jessica Glad.
If no corrections or changes, can I have a motion on that case?
Motion to approve calendar number 3971-24.
And a second?
I'll second.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Yes.
Priscilla Surratt,
Yes.
Zhang Peng,
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Next up, we have calendar 397524, Amar Trust Investment at 346 Hartshorn Drive.
Same people.
Any corrections or changes? Can I have a motion, please?
Move approval, calendar 3975.
And a second?
Can second.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandru Harjani,
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Priscilla Surratt,
Yes.
Zhang Peng,
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Lastly, calendar 396824, 296 NS Partners, 249 Main Street, Milburn. Any corrections or changes? Say approve.
Same people, yes.
Do I have a motion?
Move approval.
And a second.
I can second.
Thank you.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandra Harjani.
Yes.
Gary Rosen.
Yes.
Regina Truitt.
Abstain, I think I'm not eligible for that.
Priscilla Surratt,
Yes.
Zhou Peng,
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Thank you. Next up, we have the new business of calendar 387022, which is an extension of one-year extension of previously approved application. I think we were looking for what the
Oh,
reason
yeah,
was.
did she not, okay, all right. The email that we received, we would like to confirm that we had plans to get construction done last year, but were unable to start the project because of a few family health-related issues that required us to travel in and out of the year frequently till March of this year. They would like to now get started with the construction, so they anticipate getting started.
So this is on an extension right now, or no? It was a 22 app. I mean, what was it?
This was memorialized July of 2022, this one expired in July of 2023.
3, so that's already
So
one.
it's already 1 year. I don't think, yeah, they did not receive the,
July 18, 2022. Right, so that's when they should have come in for the, so now we're actually a year and a half. Well, 2 years.
2 years.
So,
They are technically permitted to ask for what amounts to the first extension after the period has expired.
all right, so
that
they
doesn't
get,
prevent us from
all right,
considering it.
their variances that were sought were
Like rear yard, right?
combined side yard, building coverage of, they were seeking 1.8% over, so it was just those two variances.
obviously it's staying the same.
Nothing is changing.
All right. We have a motion for 387022 for a 1-year extension.
I'll move approval.
A second.
I can second.
And roll call on that.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Chandra Harjani,
Yes.
Amy Lawrence.
Yes.
Gary Rosen,
Yes.
Regina Truitt,
Yes.
Jessica Glad.
Yes.
Craig Planer.
Yes.
And that'll be to expire July 18th of 2024,
24.
right?
Right, so they
Yeah, they have to.
technically have 2 months
Okay.
to get on the horse, so let them know that. Okay, so a couple things. Calendar 392523, Lucky Express USA, the property in question is located at 11 Mount Ararat Road. That will not be heard this evening, and it will be carried to July 1st, 2024. No further notice will be given. So if you're here tonight on that case, it will not be heard this evening. Come back July 1st. Please keep an eye on the website if anything does change there. But otherwise, there will be no new notice on that case. Calendar 398124, which is Matthew and Dawn Ross located at 46 East Hartford. That will be put last in tonight's order. So we'll be starting this evening with calendar 397724, Yankee at 216 Glen Avenue. Hold on down. Wait a second before you hand that out.
I'm sorry.
Yes, do that.
Okay,
Where do you want it?
I'm sorry.
Just raise your right hand, please. You
Sure.
swear or affirm the testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes,
Your name for the hour, spelling your name.
Yang G, first name Y-A-N-G, last name G-E.
Thank you.
Okay, and you're the property owner, correct?
Yes,
You'll be speaking on behalf of your property this evening?
yes, I am.
Okay, now what you have there, something you'd like to give us?
It's a small version of the poster. If you cannot see that clearly, you can see this one.
Okay, so our attorney will,
Okay, so do you have any expertise as an architect or an engineer?
Actually, no, I just have a builder actually. And what I want to do is to build, layer the pairs in the backyard. So I need to require the zoning permits, so I don't need an architecture.
Okay.
Yes.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna mark what you have on the easel as A1. So if you put in the right-hand corner of your, right there,
Okay.
right, I want you to write A-1.
I don't have a pen.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mark over here.
Yes.
A1.
Right corner A-1. And then just put today's date, which
Okay.
is May 20th. Okay, and A1, just tell us, before you get into the description, what is it?
Yeah, this is the current status of my property, and this is the proposed structure marked over here, and that's it. Comparison.
And I saw that you have some handouts.
Um,
Do you have some handouts that you wanted to hand out
okay.
that duplicate that, but in a smaller version?
Yes, exactly the same.
So if you'd like to hand out to the board,
Mhm.
smaller versions of A1, you can do that now,
Thank you.
okay?
And you'll be leaving that with us, by the way.
Oh,
Your-
definitely.
that all still here.
Okay. Thank you. Very fast.
Sorry, you'll- Oh, absolutely. Yeah, if anyone's here on this case, if anyone's here on this case, feel free to come down and sit in the front row where you can see better. So you understand what's going on.
Okay, and wait, hold on a second,
Okay.
hold on. So, I see what you handed out
Mhm.
consists of more than one sheet,
Yes.
okay? So
Yes.
it looks like it consists of 5 sheets.
Yes.
Do you intend to present the 5 sheets in a larger version, like a 2-foot by 3-foot version?
Yes. Exactly the same.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
5
you
posters.
have them behind?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're going to consider also as A1, only because this is just a smaller version than what you have there, correct? That on the easel?
Exactly same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for the record, A1, and we're gonna try to authenticate it in a minute, consists of 5 sheets.
Mhm.
So as you go from board to board,
Mhm.
you're gonna reference them as the second page in essence of A1. Okay, so
Okay.
A1 is gonna be one document consisting of 5 sheets,
Okay.
okay?
Okay.
And why don't you explain a little bit more detail,
Mhm.
starting with the first sheet of A1, how you created it? What did you do?
You mean for this one?
Yes, like what is it and how did you create it on the paper?
Yeah. Do you mean how do I draw this image? Right.
Yes, like,
Yes.
how did you create this?
I created it by myself.
I understand, but what is it intended to show and how did you go about creating it? What did you do? Is it computer generated?
Is it computer generated?
Okay, and I see here, there's meets and bounds. Is it based on a survey?
Yes,
Okay,
based on existing survey.
existing survey, and that's the existing survey that is included in the application
Yes,
materials, correct?
yes, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And in terms of the coloring and placing of the vehicles, that was done by you?
Yes, it's done by me too. It's more clear to show which one is the house, which one is the front and backyard, which one is the driveway.
And when on the first page of A1, you have proposed, and it looks like you have an area in the rear yard for the parking of vehicles, correct?
Yes, this is the paver, so I use the brick shape over there.
And what are it doesn't look like you put any dimensions on the right side of A1 as proposed. What are the dimensions of the proposed parking area?
The dimension is already mentioned in the application. It's 25 by 25 feet square.
Okay, and so the 25 by 25 is the square,
Large one.
right?
Yes.
And what's the dimension of the smaller square?
Actually it's not quite for sure because this area, I didn't measure, but I think it's a 10 by 10, I think. And
Okay, so
sorry.
go ahead, so make your presentation, and when you do so, please review,
Yes.
please mention the sheets by page.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now here's the page 1 of the A1, and my name's Yang, and I'm the new resident in the New Jersey, moving from out of state. And me and my wife has a 1-year-old kids, and we moved into this house in the January this year. And you can see this is the existing structure of the property. The gray one is the house, is the 2-story frame house. And this is the front of the house. You can see this is the Grand Avenue, which is a public road. And for this house, at the back of this house, marked the yellow area, this is the 1-car garage. Actually, connected to the garage and the public road is the long, narrow driveway over here. And what I proposed is to add an extension of the driveway. Is 25 by 25 square feet in the backyard, and is connected to the existing driveway. And also, I will have a 3 feet width of the walkway, which connected from the backyard all the way to the front door. So this is what I propose. The majority violation of the current of the code is, first, this area is relatively large, and the second one is the side yard. The side yard setback is required to be 9 feet, but for this one, I require is 2 feet because it needs to align with the current driveway. So there are difficulties of the current driveway is because I turn into the A1 page 2. This is exactly what it looks like when you when you see there are the two cars parked on the driveway. One is parked over here. Even though it's in the widest part of the driveway, there still have no space for my car to turn around and drive out after driving. And also, if my wife's car parked over here, I cannot drive out. It blocks each other. And there's another image take over here to show this area. You can see on the right of the driveway, there are wall of the house, and also there are retaining wall over here. And on the left side is my neighbor's property, and there are curbs and the rocks over here, which also do not have space for me to turn around. Why do I have to turn around? Because this is a really long, narrow driveway. If I drive head in, it's difficult to reverse for me and my wife. And there's another difficulty to reverse out is I turn to the page 3 of A1. Is that, can you see over here? When I reverse my car to the edge of the Glen Avenue, you can see this is the back view camera. And when it is to reach to the edge, and I try to see through the passenger side window, I try to see the upcoming traffic. What I can see is this. There's a tree on the side of the road, blocked my wheel, and I cannot see the upcoming traffic. So it's really dangerous to reverse in this circumstance, especially I have a 1-year-old baby in the back seat. So I have to drive head in and have a space to turn around and drive out. So somebody may confuse, what if we reverse inside and drive head out? What is that possible? It's also difficult. Turn to the page 4 of the file A1. So you can see my location actually is really close to the public library, and also on the across the intersection, there's the main entrance of the South Mountain Reservation, and also it's not shown there, but at this location it is a train station. So every day during the morning time before 9 o'clock or in the afternoon after 3 o'clock, there's really heavy traffic over here. So it is impossible for me to reverse. Especially when I drive in this direction, can I reverse into the driveway? Difficult, and it's not safe because it might potentially collide with the other drivers. It's not safe. So what I need is to have a space over here to drive head inside turn around and drive out. And also this space could provide an extra parking space for me and for my wife because it's only one car garage. Okay, turn to the page 5 of the file A1. So this is what looks like of my backyard. And on the right, there's a right line over here to mark out what is estimated to be located in the backyard. And you can see this is a 25 by 25 paver area. And when my car driving through the driveway reaching over here and make a 3.10, it can drive head out. And I used to measure the size of the area which I can make the 3.10. And 25 by 25 actually is the minimum requirement to do this. And also I cannot move it like 9 feet from the borderline because it will not connect it to a driveway, so it's useless because my car cannot drive to the paver. So I need it to be this size and this location. And the material I will use the 9 inches by 6 inches paver brick, and it has a thickness of the 2.5 inches, which is strong enough to hold the weight of the car. And this is an example picture from my builder, which is the Pro One Construction. And they said it can be made by this and has a warranty for around 20 years. And the reason I use the paver is that if compared to the concrete and the asphalt, the paver will not block the penetration of the rain or water through into the soil, right? Compared to concrete and asphalt. And the water will not accumulate in the backyard, which will not generate the problem to me and my neighbors. So I think I hope in the future, I don't know, after a couple of years, 20 years, that if the new owner of this property do not like this area, they can remove it easily. So this is my proposal, and I hope you can approve it. Thank you.
Okay, so, here, let's start with this. Did you begin construction on this?
Yes, because when I moved here, I asked the construction company to work on that. But when I noticed it required permit, I asked the workers stop that immediately and apply for the permit. And so this morning there are two sweet ladies come here, and so the conditions of my backyard is not finished because I know it's violate to do not have a permit. So I asked them to stop it immediately and apply for permit.
Did the town tell you to stop?
No, I stop. The town didn't tell me to stop.
Okay,
Yeah, I know it's wrong, so I stopped by myself.
right. How many of your neighbors have parking lots in their backyard?
I'm sorry?
How many of your neighbors have parking lots in their backyard?
My left hand 214 has a 2-car garage in the backyard, and my right side actually their garage is in the front yard, so they do not require the
Right,
backyard.
I'm asking how many of your neighbors have 25 by 25 parking lots in their backyard?
I don't know. They have the garage. They do not have the backyard.
So they don't have one, right?
Yes. But for the neighbors, to the larger number, like the 226 or something, I don't familiar with their property, so I cannot
I'm
provide that
asking to the left and to the right, because
information.
in your house.
I just have 2 neighbors.
Right, I didn't notice that they have parking lots in their backyard. So that's my point.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Just a quick question.
Yes.
Under the wood deck, is there an entryway into the garage? Is
Oh,
there any-
no,
Is there any door under the, access door under the wood
No.
deck?
The access door is located over here, on the side
And
of.
so under the wood deck is just nothing. You can't enter the garage.
I cannot.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Is this the only alternative that you considered to solve the problem you're having, or did you consider other ideas?
No, this is the only one I see, because my wife have to drop off the kids in the early morning, like 7 to 8 o'clock, and her drive skills actually is even worse than me. So she has to drive.
Did you contemplate this when you bought the house?
I'm sorry.
Did you contemplate this when you bought the house?
When I bought, what do you mean by contemplate?
Well,
I'm sorry.
When you purchased the house,
Uh-huh.
how long ago did you buy this house?
The closing day is in the November, I think, and I move in is in this January.
Okay.
And I applied for the permit is in the end of January, I think. I don't remember exactly. And processing.
So prior to you closing
Mhm.
on the purchase of this house,
Mhm.
you had contemplated or thought about this project?
No.
You did. It was
No.
after you owned the house, you thought about it?
Yeah, when I have the 2-car parking over here, that's the problem. Yeah, the previous owner actually they have is a Mini Cooper, and that's much smaller. But what I have is 2 SUVs. My car is a Toyota Highlander, is much larger.
Did you know before you closed that your car could not fit into the 1-car garage?
My wife's car can fit into the park garage, but my car definitely cannot. Yeah. The garage actually the height is around my height. It's not quite high. Yeah, and my car is SUV. So.
Did you hire a professional of any sort to help you come up with this plan? Like who, was it just you who came up with
It's
the
just
plan?
me.
And then you hired a contractor or construction company to
Yes,
start
yes,
building it?
yes.
But you didn't consult with any other professionals to try to come up with a
No.
plan?
No, I didn't.
what concerns me about this is the drainage.
Yeah.
I mean, you have an enormous area here that you're putting down impervious coverage. And has there been any study done, engineering or anything on where all that water is going to go?
The water actually under this current situation, most of the waters from the house actually is flowing through here, and they will accumulate over here and penetrate into the soil.
Right, but you're getting rid of a significant amount of soil in your backyard. And you're now covering it with impervious surface.
Actually, during the normal rain, there will be no water located over here, and also
How do you know that?
the building of this pier actually is not using the concrete or anything. It's just use the dirt to compact underneath.
Right, but the stone on top is not pervious.
But the water can still penetrate through.
No.
This is gonna require engineering. They're gonna want a grading permit. It's 725 square feet of new coverage. They don't care, it's just coverage. So we will need a grading permit from the engineering department. That's a significant amount of lot, additional lot coverage. So,
I mean, you're essentially turning your backyard into a parking lot.
If you had if you had 1 car parked in the back and you needed to turn the other car around to get out, would you be able to do that?
Actually, this garage door actually is a manual door, and my wife and I do not normally park inside it because it's really heavy for the lady to lift that door. So if we build this one, both me and my wife could park over here, or she could park over here. Either way is fine.
But if you did park both cars in the back,
Mhm.
is it with a 25 by 25 foot area, would you be able to turn a car around?
I can.
So that's a big area.
Actually,
You
it's
could do it with a car there.
what
To do a T and turn around.
just do this like this. Actually, it's not that large. 25 feet by 25 feet. It's 7.5 meters. Yeah, it's 3.5 times of my arm width. So it's not quite large. My car is let me see, it's around 16 feet long.
And if you didn't park a car there and use the garage, would you need that much space?
What do you mean? Could you repeat
If
again?
one of the cars was in the garage,
Mm-hmm.
right?
I still need
You had a
that.
new garage door that that your wife could open.
Mhm.
theoretically.
Mhm. I still.
Then, would you need 25 by 25, or could you do something smaller that would?
Yes, I
allow you
still
to design?
25 by 25. This is the minimum requirement. I used, to be honest, do you see this picture? There are some tire marks over here. It's because I try to measure how long I drive my car into the backyard.
What sheet are you referring to? You're referring to
Page 5, I'm
page
sorry.
5?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, you can see on the grass, there are tire marks over here because I drive inside trying to get the 3.10, and I mark is 25 by 25 is the minimum requirement for me to do the 3.10.
And you understand that there's a setback that you're violating as well.
Yes, I understand.
Right?
Yeah.
Are you proposing any type of vegetation to screen your parked vehicles from your neighbor on either side?
No. You mean to build a fence or something to block the
Well,
window?
I'm looking at your page 5 of A1 where it says 25 by 25, and I don't see any vegetation to the left, let alone to the right, that could provide any type of
The
screen.
fence would probably not work because you're using 25 by 25, and I guarantee you're gonna hang your vehicle over the edge. Okay, which means you're gonna hit the fence. So it would have to be some sort of vegetation to screen that. So it would be vegetation, not fencing.
Okay, something to block the car to prevent it hit the fence, right?
No, from your neighbors seeing your parked cars in the middle of your backyard.
Well, if I do not park over here, but I still need the place to turn around, I can park over here. Yeah, currently my car is parking over here, but the problem is that I need a place to make
Here,
it
for
turn
the record,
around.
so you're saying your car is currently parked adjacent to the wood deck?
Not that it can be parked over here near the wood deck over here, right? Yes, and if you refer to the page on. Sorry, page 2. The wood deck actually is located from here all the way down over here. If it's driving a little bit, it is still difficult for this car to drive into the garage because the end of this car is still blocking the driveway.
Quick question.
Yeah.
The reason I asked about where is the entryway under the house, which doesn't exist, is because this little paver, that would be new. This
It's over,
paver walkway would be new, correct?
it's over here.
The one that leads from the proposed new parking space
Mhm.
to the side, that's a new paver walkway that you're proposing, or does it
Yes.
exist already?
It's a new paperweight.
It's minuscule, but that adds to the overage, correct? It was only 11% over.
That's my question too.
For lot coverage, if you took out that pathway or perhaps maybe just directed it back onto the driveway, would that substantially affect the 11%? Could we reduce that?
Okay.
And it's actually a question for Eileen. I don't know if you know that off the top of your head, like how much does that contribute to the overage of the lot coverage? That little paver walkway.
He's proposing 46%, he's only allowed 35, so.
So it's 11, I know, but how much of that paver walkway, got rid of the paver walkway, would that take 1% away or 2%? That's why I was asking where the door was, because maybe you could put it, maybe get rid of that walkway and maybe
I
Save
can
some overage. Just a question, if that would even matter.
Yeah, you can see over here is actually currently have the slate or the layer over here. And it is a little bit slippery during the snow and the raining, so I replace that to the paver
Yeah,
because it's safe.
it's just a hypothetical question to
Yeah.
find out if it would even matter. It
Mhm.
might be so minuscule that it's not worth it.
Did you put together these calculations on area, or did somebody help you with that?
What do you mean?
When you filled out, you had to have certain areas that you were adding, like 25 by 25 is 625 square feet. Like, did you put those areas together, or did someone help you with that?
I can improve, actually I didn't do the calculation and I,
So Ms. Davitt helped you with the calculations?
who helped me?
Eileen Davitt?
Yes.
Yeah.
I submit all the files to her and she do the calculation job for me.
So if we got rid of the walkway, would it matter?
Nope.
Not really. I think
Because you're-
it probably comes out to maybe 150 square feet.
Right, we are occupied is still
You know, he's still.
substantially over.
It's still over, but it's not much. It's only
Accessory coverage is 5% over.
1.4%. It's only 1.4% over.
Any other questions from the board?
I just want to point out to the board that based on the submissions and the testimony presented so far,
Mhm.
the board may want to consider, to Craig's point, right away as to whether this rear yard use is a permitted accessory use in the zone. Because you're proposing really not a driveway, but a parking area in the rear yard of the residence. And to demonstrate that a certain accessory use is accessory to a residential home, you need to demonstrate that it is customary, incidental, and subordinate to the principal single-family use. So that's something for you to also think about.
Any other questions from the board? I'll open up to questions from the public. Anyone here have any questions regarding this application? Any questions? Okay.
My name's Ken Leiby. I'm an attorney. I represent the owners of 214 Glen Avenue.
So wait. So you represent who?
My neighbor.
Jessica
Sorry.
Jessica Gordon and Josh Mosier.
M-O.
Sher. Is that right?
Okay.
Just a couple of questions. To clarify,
Mhm.
if I understand your testimony correctly,
Mhm.
you have one car that can pull into the garage, correct?
Not smoothly turning to the garage because the front tire need to get onto the curb because it's not enough space to back into the garage. The other car cannot get into the garage.
Yeah, well, you didn't mention that in your application. In paragraph 16 of your application, you say only one car garage attached to house. When one car parks on driveway, the other car in garage cannot drive out.
Yes.
So you can get a car in the garage, correct?
Yes. because-
Okay, and when that car is in the garage, if it comes in head in,
Mhm.
can it not back out and turn around and go out head first?
No, because the other car, if it goes here,
We're just talking about one car right now.
no, it's hard because the steps over here is really close to the garage, to the garage door. Can you imagine that? The garage door located over here, and if it this one back through here, it cannot turn that way. It's hard.
Well, it's a pretty wide garage, isn't it?
It's around. Let me see.
Is that
This
is
is
that an accurate representation?
Yes.
Yeah, we gotta see what you're talking about there, right, first.
I've
So
got
would you like to submit something?
Yes.
Okay.
I have some photos. How do you want me to mark it?
Let's label that O1, please, and then you can submit it to the board, and then you can refer to it once you describe what we're looking at.
Okay.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pass it down. It's easier.
Thanks.
Sure.
I might be short a copy.
Okay, so O1,
Thanks. Oh. So then, Mr. Labby, why don't you describe what we're looking at here?
This is a photograph taken from 214. It was actually taken this afternoon. Shows the garage door, shows the, that's the larger of your cars, the Toyota,
Yeah, Highlander.
parked in front of it. And you can get a very good idea of the width of that garage door opening. And I would suggest that there's no reason for it to be trying to back out close to the left side. There's plenty of room there.
No, actually, the car, if you see that in that picture, actually, the Toyota Highlander is much larger than you can imagine. For this door garage, actually, if the smaller car actually is a Subaru, and when the Subaru back in over here, there's only 3 feet left on the other side. The other side, for example, is close to the right side. The left side, there's only 3 feet.
So you've got some swing room at the front end, and you have enough width to get in. Presumably, you've got enough width to back out.
To get straight in actually is really hard. You can try
But
that.
you can do it.
I have tried that multiple times.
But you get cars into the garage.
It's back in, and
Okay, so you back in.
yeah,
So you pull up here, back in, and
No.
then drive out.
I go here, but my tires have to get onto the curb, which I do not want to happen. Back in all the way down over here. But my wife cannot back in the car all the way through here. If I had in, I cannot get into the garage at all.
And you testified earlier that
Mhm.
you didn't explore any other alternatives
Yes,
to this.
yes.
Did you consult with anybody?
I didn't consult to anybody.
And if you wanted to reduce the impervious surface,
Mm-hmm,
couldn't you, instead of solidly paving this area,
mm-hmm.
just put in 2 rows of pavers for your tires?
2 rows of paper, what do you mean?
I mean that the part that's under your car wouldn't have paving material under it.
You mean remove it, just leave the soil
Yes.
over there? Or use the rock, something to.
No.
Why?
Grass.
Oh,
Are you
It's not
talking, let's be clear here, are you talking about what was described by the applicant as the 10 by 10 area?
I am, I'm sorry.
But I'd ask you also, rather than proposing things,
Mhm.
ask him what he's contemplating as opposed to, because you're not the architect or the designer, so,
No,
you know, if he says that he hasn't contemplated anything else, he kind of answered the question,
Okay.
so.
yeah, because
so you haven't contemplated any other approach to this?
it's really easy. If I use the grass, the car cannot drive onto the paper. Right.
Hang on a second. Sure. And the survey that this is based on, when was that survey prepared?
When I purchased the home.
I don't think I have anything further.
Okay. Anyone in the audience have any other questions for this applicant? In that case, I'll open up for comment. Anyone in the audience have any comment regarding this application?
I do, but I also have a witness. That's okay.
That's okay. So we're gonna have to swear your witness in also. Are you speaking on behalf of your witness, or is she on Zoom?
She's here. I'd be happy to speak on her behalf, but
Okay.
But I think-
No,
If you have a witness, bring up the witness, we'll get the witness sworn.
great.
I assume this is a fact witness.
Yes.
Hi, Jessica.
Come forward to the microphone.
Do you swear or affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
I do.
Your name and address for the record, spelling your name.
Jessica Gordon, Jessica, Gordon, Gordon. My address is 128 Nob Hill, Knobb, Nob Hill Road. That's in Milford, Connecticut. 06467.
Counselor, do you want to start, or would you like to begin?
I'm sorry?
Who would like to start? Would you like to start?
Yeah.
With your- okay.
Yeah. Ms. Gordon, you gave us an address in Connecticut, but you're the owner of 214 Glen Avenue, is that correct?
I am, yes.
And how long have you owned that property?
13 years?
And was there a time when you lived at that property?
Yes.
And up until then, how many years had you lived there? I think I just asked you that, I'm sorry.
I was born and raised in this town, graduating class of '01. And in 2013, we purchased it, my husband and I, as our first home. My mother and family and everyone has been here for multiple generations, and we plan to stay. I got pulled away for a short time for work, which is why we are currently in Connecticut and kept the house. It's not like we're doing a scheme of multiple properties and we're renting them out. This is our only other property, and we do plan to move back. The work that we left for is for me to conduct Alzheimer's disease research, and we're trying to eradicate that. And there's been some major progress recently. And so upon getting a little bit closer, our plan is to move back and raise our family here. And we also had our children here. And
Okay, earlier in the testimony, there were some comments from the board about drainage issues or the possibility of drainage issues.
yes.
Does that pose any concern for you?
The property on 216 is the lowest lying of the entire street. We do get runoff from the mountain. And behind our houses is the library field, which also was, recently converted to turf. So I do have significant concerns about, again, any further impervious conditions. And the back lot is, well, we see it. I guess we have pictures. Looks, yeah.
Not that great.
Well, I don't think this is to scale, is what I would suggest, but.
And when's the last time you were at the property?
Today.
Okay. And did you observe the construction that had started on this new proposed paved area?
Yes, it looks about 3/4 of the way complete, and there's a number of pavers sitting on the property.
And does that construction follow the grade of the property, or has it altered it?
It is altered. I mean, it is significantly raised. There's, I don't know, the leveling ground plus the concrete border and stone. I don't know what it's particularly called, and then the pavers on top of that. So it's raised.
I don't have anything further.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's not concrete actually. Under the paver is the dirt. I see the construction workers, they bring the back of the dirt, and I know they told me it's the paver base is located and pour that over there and use some machine to compact to firm, and it's definitely not concrete. Yeah.
What are the?
Oh, see. Yes, I can answer you. Is that they add a layer of the, I don't know, the brick over there because they're trying to make that to a level, to level the area.
Did the contractors raise the grade from the then
This high.
existing grade? When you say this high, what is that? You're putting your hands apart here. Is that 6 inches? What is that?
No, actually, that one is, I tend to the page 5 of the A1.
Okay.
Actually, this area of my backyard is relatively lower, and this area is relatively higher. And the height differences is around 6 inches or 8 inches. I'm not for sure. So they add one layer of the brick over here to lift that and make sure the paver area is in the same level. at the same level. That's the reason they saw there's a concrete brick on the edge of here. It's a concrete brick. But underneath the paver is definitely not concrete.
In that case, any further comment from the audience? Then I'll close the public portion of the hearing. Board members, what are your thoughts?
I think this application is problematic, for multiple reasons. And while I understand the applicant's need for more functional driveway,
Yes.
I'm concerned that the applicant hasn't consulted with any professionals about this. I'm concerned about the drainage issues, the setback coverage in general, how out of place it looks. I mean, we don't often have the benefit of seeing kind of a mostly completed project that's coming before us for a variance, but in this case, we actually could, because it's mostly completed. And I think it's pretty much out of character for the surrounding neighborhood to have this big kind of parking lot in the backyard. So I'm not in support of it, but again, I do understand the applicant's need and want for a more functional driveway. I just don't know that this is the best way to go about doing it.
So further Jessica's concerns, our decisions run with the land, which means that you're using it for a turnaround, but the next owner could use it for a large patio. Now they have a large patio 2 feet off the property line, which they can make noise, they can do whatever they want, and that could be a bothersome use for the neighbors. The engineering of this is very concerning to me. The water issues that it could generate are very concerning to me. The fact that it was done, now you're here actually asking for forgiveness rather than permission is concerning to me. While I do understand your issues and it's unfortunate, but these are all the issues you have to deal with when buying a house. Like I said, I do sympathize, but I don't think this is the solution, and I would not support this application.
I echo everything they've said. I drove by stopped by your house today, and I will say it's a really skinny driveway. I totally get what you're saying. It's a treacherous road. I could barely get over it with traffic, and I went around 4:30 today. And I was concerned to see the construction there. I think you maybe didn't realize the permits that you needed, so you're trying to make this work. I think I would not approve this as it is. I think there's drainage issues that concern me. And I think there might be better ways to do this that might meet your needs, that would also mitigate some of the drainage concerns I have over in that area. So I would not be in support of this, but I do understand your dilemma.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with the prior comments. I am very sympathetic with your issue because I think, backing out onto Glen Ave is virtually impossible at certain times of the day. So I think there does need to be a solution, but this seems premature a little bit and perhaps ill-conceived. And it seems like if you could consult experts who might come up with better solutions that would solve or address the concerns that the board has raised, I think you might be in a better position. But I think as it's proposed and actually is partially built, I just don't think it works, and I don't think I would be supportive.
So in terms of what happens next, I think you have two choices. One is that you can ask the board to vote on the application, or you can ask for the matter to be adjourned to a future meeting. I'll talk about that in a second, to allow you an opportunity to take some of the advice from the members of the board and maybe consult with a professional or professionals about your project. So that's up to you.
I need some advice to resolve this situation.
I'm sorry?
I need some advice from the board. Yes, definitely.
Well, the board doesn't give advice.
No. So I said you have two choices.
Okay.
Right, door A or door B. Door A is that we take a vote, the board takes a vote right now on your application.
It's May 9. Yeah.
What's that?
It's May 9 if we vote now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then would you like the opportunity to consult with some professionals?
Yes,
about some
I need-
alternatives? Okay.
Yes.
Given the fact that this construction has commenced and it's not permitted, that my advice to the board is to provide a very short window to this applicant
Yes.
within which to engage professionals.
When's the next time we can hear the case?
Probably the soonest I can hear them.
July 15th. Okay. So get your professionals together because that's the date.
Okay.
After that, if you don't have it, you bring in some shovels and that thing gets dug up.
Okay. I
Okay.
understand.
So this case will be moved to July 15th, no further notice. As Mr. Lively, please keep an eye on the town hall website, and if there are any plans that are submitted, those plans need to be submitted 10 days before the meeting,
Sure.
okay? For review, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have calendar 398224, 18 Willow Street, Mega Property Development. You guys are?
Okay,
Yes,
want that set up over here or is over there, okay?
Over there's fine. I mean, Archie, over here so that our board members can see it. If anyone is here on this case, please feel free to come down to the front if you would like a better view of the exhibits.
My name is Michael Bonner, B-O-N-N-E-R. I'm with the Free Area Law Group. We appeared, I guess it was a month or 2 months ago on an appeal matter, same property, same idea. We're here for a variance application now. I have 2 witnesses and I also have a representative of the applicant in the event there are any direct questions for the applicant, but we don't plan any direct testimony by him. The architect for the project couldn't make it tonight. He had a conflicting matter, but we have the project manager who works in his office, and she was intimately involved in the plans, and she's going to lay it out as a factual matter. If there are questions of a technical nature that can't be answered, we would have to bring the architect back if he's available. And we also have a professional planner tonight. But I think the plans are straightforward, and I'd like to introduce Paulina Mancia.
Wait, so I'm sorry.
Yes.
So you have a planner,
We have a planner,
you have the project manager,
project manager.
and who else do you have?
We have a representative of the applicant, Dennis Jenkins.
In what capacity?
He's here in the event there are any direct questions for the applicant that either one of the people can't answer. But no
Okay.
testimony is
Is
proposed.
he an officer of Mecca Property Development?
He's the sole proprietor, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought-
So the board has to understand that the testimony from the project manager is not from a professional architect, and you are permitted to weigh that in your consideration of the application.
I'd like to introduce Paulina Mancia.
Okay, she should get sworn.
If you just raise your hand, do you swear from testimony about to give in this proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your name for the record, please, spelling your name.
Paulina, that's Paulina Mancilla, Mancilla.
Just for the sake of clarity, you have testified before as a project manager for
Correct.
Mr. Lazarus's office.
Yes, I have.
And
In other boards, like East Orange and other towns. The latest
approximately how
one-
many times?
I will say 10,
Okay,
give or take.
thank you. And you're familiar with the plans?
Correct.
You're
I've-
involved in their drafting and?
From start to finish. I've been totally involved.
Okay. I won't walk you through with questions. Why don't you explain plans
Yes.
and, as the site exists now, and then the modifications that are going to be made.
So if you look at VA.0, which is the
I'm
first.
sorry, these plans are the same plans that were submitted. It's not a new exhibit. But we can mark it if you want.
Right, so Pauline, if you can just identify what the last revision date is.
The last revision date is number one is 04/30/2024, variant zoning review.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So if you look at the existing site plan, what we proposed is first to remove that paved area, the existing deck, another piece of paved area, then the stairs to the deck, then remove this whole paved area up to this point where the stairway, the front of the house is, then remove partially to make strips of the asphalt driveway. That's,
In order to reduce coverage.
Correct.
All of these things were done to reduce coverage.
yes. Now, what we're proposing in the frontage is to square off the left side of the house, which is actually 4 feet 10 by 15, which was this location. And then we remove the deck and we propose to square it off to be 24.3 by 10 feet and square off the rear right side of the house, which is 8 feet 5.5 by 8 feet 1.5.
Neither one of those additions increases coverage, correct?
Yeah, it doesn't
They're
because,
going over
basically-
existing.
exactly. So we're doing that and we're proposing a second floor story. This is a 1.5 story house.
So the first floor additions will,
Yes, so
the second story will be above the entire,
above the existing.
including the additions.
Yes.
Thank you. Go.
So I'll go to the existing, which is the sheet VA 1.1, which is the third sheet. So I'll walk you through the existing conditions. On the bottom,
Interior.
yes, from the interior of the house, the existing conditions. We have an existing finished basement, and the first floor consists of 2 bedrooms, full bathroom, living room, dining room, kitchen, and an L-shaped galley going to an existing deck. The half story is just 1 bedroom. And then- So if you go back to VA 1.0, what we're proposing is existing basement to finish it off, add a home office, a full bathroom, tuck in the mechanical room, and an open space for family area. On the first floor is, we keep the existing bedroom, we open up the layout, we make a dining, living room, full bathroom, kitchen, and a new deck. The new
The
stairs.
new deck is smaller than the
Yes, it's
existing deck.
reduced, correct. It's reduced. And the new stairs going up to the second floor, and also this way going down to the basement. And this is the addition of the tips of the house.
You're not, I'm just, sorry. You're not increasing the basement here. This is,
No.
on the basement level, there's nothing here. It's
No,
just crawl
nothing
space.
increased, it's purely crawl spaces,
Okay.
these those additions. On the second floor, we propose 2 bedrooms, a full bathroom, and a master suite. And the new roof line. So on the existing entryway, there is no roof above it, so for rain, snow purposes, we just proposed a roof
And
above
the
the,
front steps exist,
correct,
and they're not being changed.
No.
We're simply putting a roof over them.
correct, just to shed from the rain
So
Smell, et cetera.
there's an existing front yard variance,
Correct.
but it's not changing.
No, it's
Because the
not.
steps aren't being moved or changed in any way.
No, it's not gonna be moved or changed or anything. And if you look at the final one, which is what we're proposing as a final elevation. So here you see the front facade, which will be vertical siding white with black trims around and a dark color stone pavers and a dark color shingles. And the proposed roof that we're proposing over it. This is the right side elevation, where you see the deck, and then the left side, and again, the rear, which is the full deck with horizontal. So the scheme is white and black aesthetically.
No habitable space in the attic,
No,
correct? And how do you get access to the attic, if at all?
just to pull
Pull
it down, just to pull down.
And there's mechanical equipment up there?
No,
No, it's all in the basement?
I believe, let me just double check. Yes, we do provide, so it's gonna be a two-zone system. One in the basement supplying the basement, the first floor, and the one in the attic is only going to supply for the second floor. So it's gonna have a two-zone.
And exterior to the house, landscaping, anything you want to mention on the outside?
Yes, the only improvement is the driveway. It's going to be 33 feet long, and we're gonna remove partially and make strips for the cars who enter to make it more aesthetically pleasing.
In between the strips will be grass.
Correct. It will be grass.
Have
So
no-
your attachment, real quick, your attachment shows you're asking for 3 variances, correct?
Correct.
What about your side yard setback? Those aren't compliant. Are they? About 18 feet?
No,
Yeah.
they are.
We followed
There are
the
7.
Ms. Davitt's report on the 3 variances.
Thinking R6.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were, like, you think it's R6, it's R7.
I'll let it go this time.
Yeah. Continue, please.
That's it. I have no further questions for
Do you have
Ms.
any
Mansell.
questions?
Any other questions for professional?
And does this area flood?
No.
Not to our knowledge.
I can introduce Mr. Jenkins, the principal. The owner. Want to stand up and
Wait,
get
hold
sworn?
on a second, guys. Please,
Let's
you're
ask
asking questions
Yeah.
of this. They can't turn to the crowd.
It sounds like you don't
Do
know.
you know or you don't know?
I don't know.
Okay,
Thank
that's how we're gonna do it. Any other questions?
I would point out that we are improving the coverage substantially on the property by removing pavers and things like that.
But you're still over.
By
the
1%.
floor area ratio.
1%.
The floor area ratio are actually 6.27%.
Right, but the coverage isn't impacted at all by the increase in the FAR.
Just
And,
the FAR.
right, because you count the garage
Yeah.
is
Right.
one of the
Yeah, we
issues, which is inhabitable space.
And detached.
But the coverage isn't affected, you know, and this is an oversized lot, so there's a fair amount of grass in the backyard.
But you don't know if it's flood zone here.
I don't know.
Okay. Or if there's.
I wanted to ask, so you just said that it's an oversized lot for R7, but you're requesting an FAR variance. So I'd like to understand, and it's not an insignificant variance. I'd like to understand, I guess, had you considered other, why is it this alternative that's coming before us with this FAR variance?
Well, I think the planner will explain,
Well,
probably better.
But I think the question
I'm
was.
going to address her question.
No, but the witness has to address her question, right? And from a design perspective.
From a design perspective, in consideration,
For this, so basically it was to make it a clean look and very uniform because there was a bunch of wasted space here. This pavers had no purpose in life. And our client asked us to add it on to the building since we're going to a variance. Because it's for commodity. The layout, if you see the existing layout of the house is really bad. It's like a jungle.
It doesn't fit in the neighborhood.
It doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't work. We actually hired a Feng Shui person.
Yeah.
So this is a very high Asian market, and that's the requirement. So based on Feng Shui, we try to make things work out really nice for this house.
I would also put, I would,
It was a
Is
challenge.
it Feng Shui requesting a
It's a
higher
Feng Shui
FAR?
request, yeah.
No, not FAR, but the design and.
we don't have a feng shui expert here.
No, not Feng Shui. Too bad.
I would also point out, which Paulina may not have remembered, is the original design of the house did not have the front addition. That still wouldn't have changed the coverage, but it did, and the original design, they did everything they could to keep the FAR as close as we could, not understanding that the garage was included. We were at,
Wait, sorry, the original design,
they've been through several iterations with Mr.
that's part of
Jenkins.
my question, you went through multiple iterations.
Right.
to keep it.
The idea, I believe, is to make it look like the rest of the neighborhood, which is largely two-story homes. And the idea is to make it fit better in the neighborhood and provide a fair amount of living space.
So my question for you is, why haven't you considered another choice that's not basically a cube? Why haven't you maybe stepped things in to make it look a little bit more, not only interesting, but maybe cut down on the FAR?
Well, the FAR, what it is basically the garage.
No, it's not, because the garage, everyone has to have a garage for the township ordinance. So it's not the garage, you have an oversized lot, so you're getting the benefit of that as well. So I'm talking about the structure itself, okay? Because you're at 29.1, the ordinance is 38, you're asking for 45.27. That is an enormous deviation. So was there any type of option considered that wasn't just a box on top of a box that may have been a little bit more architecturally appealing and maybe cut down on your FAR?
Did you have those discussions or not?
I really don't know. I really don't know how to
I mean,
answer this
here's
question.
what I recommend at this point. You kind of need the architect here, all right? Because I don't think we're gonna get to a resolution tonight without having some discussion with an architect. Because the giant in the room here is this FAR.
Hmm.
All right, and I think you can smell what we're cooking up here, right? That this is a big deviation. And, maybe, we could work on it a little bit more here to try to get this.
So the question is basically, we had this removed. This was at now. This addition was now. The prior one was just to take this portion, which was to square only exclusively this side, just because of the kitchen. That's all it is. And the owner really didn't want to affect or touch the existing foundation. So the strategy was we squared off this tip and not added this, and the owner asked for this addition.
Okay,
So it had a play, what were you saying, the volumetric, and we complied with this, it was okay, even though the FAR is still up there.
well, do you want to have your planner speak, or where do you want to go?
If it's okay, I would like to have him make his presentation, if you want the architect to come back.
Well, I can see where we're going here, but I mean, let's see what your planner has to say.
Okay.
There's-
Okay. Thanks, Pauline.
Just, do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give in tonight's hearing to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Your name for the record, spelling, please.
Thomas Ricci, RICCI, address 92 Park Ave, Rutherford, New Jersey.
And your qualifications with the board.
Licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey, member of the American Institute of Certified Planners. I've been accepted by this board at the last hearing, as well as over 80 other boards throughout the state of New Jersey and New York.
And the list is good standing?
Yes, it is.
Please proceed.
All right, so you guys have heard the proposed use, the proposed addition, and obviously we're seeking an FAR variance for the construction of essentially this second floor addition. Now that FAR includes the existing first floor, the proposed second floor, as well as that existing garage that's on the property. So I'm sure, as the board is aware, the burden of proof for the standard for granting an FAR variance, the Coventry standard, specifically that the site continues to be suitable and can accommodate the proposed project despite exceeding that FAR. And I truly think we do. So what's permitted with regards to FAR is 38%, and we have 45.27% that's proposed. So what I like to do in my planning analysis is I like to look and see where we stack up in some of the other regulations, because I think it's important. I think that all of the requirements together are what governs the size and intensity of a property. So when we look at lot coverage, the ironic thing about the increase in FAR, we're reducing the lot coverage on the property. The existing is 53.8%, and we're going down to 46%. So 53.8 down to 46. 45 is the maximum. So we're almost there, 1% away from compliance. With regards to the building height, we have an increased FAR, but we're actually under that maximum height by 3 feet. So a lot of large buildings in the area that I think are taller than what's being proposed today. So we're under that height. With regards to building coverage, we're over compliant with building coverage. You're allowed 25% of the lot, and our footprint is only 20.32. So we only fulfill about 80% of that maximum footprint that we can do. With regards to setbacks, the rear, we're more than twice compliant. Sides, we are compliant. Front, there's a prevailing standard, and if no prevailing exists, then the 24 feet provision kicks in. I imagine that is what was utilized when building this house. Existing to the front face of that facade is 23.9. It almost nearly consists of imagining that's due to shifting the building slightly during construction. So I can't argue that the front setback as it stands now is fully compliant, but it's basically there. And the most important thing is that this second floor addition isn't moving that front facade. It's keeping that, it's working with the existing building lines that exist. And then I think as we've discussed at last hearing, garage gets included in that FAR. We don't want to remove it. We recognize that the town has a code that requires you to have a garage. So while we do increase this FAR over the requirement, we don't want to remove the garage because that would give us back some FAR, but that would trigger a variance. And then the only other option would be not doing the second story, which, as we talked about, most of the buildings in the area are actually two-story dwellings. And I'd like to enter in an exhibit, a photo exhibit of some of the dwellings in the area. Now, this exhibit, do you want me to describe it first or hand it out? I can describe it as I'm handing it out. It is a 6-sheet photo exhibit showing a couple photos of the property as well as some of the surrounding dwellings.
Okay, stop right there. So this is, we're gonna mark A1.
Just give it real.
It'll be easier next. Does everyone have one? So as I mentioned, a 6-sheet photo exhibit prepared by Stonefield Engineering and Design, dated May 1st, 2024. Site photo 1, you see the existing property. It is a 1.5-story Cape Cod style dwelling. Obviously has seen a little bit of wear and tear over time, can benefit from a renovation, what we're proposing here. Page 2 shows our property on the right side with our neighbor to the left. Obviously, it's a much taller home, 2.5 or even 3-story dwelling. We'll flip to sheet 3. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Another 2 or 3-story dwelling if you count those upper levels. if they're finished, it's tough to tell. I haven't been in there, but it's a duplex style dwelling. Flipping to sheet 4.
Hold on. So sheet 1 is the subject property, sheet 2 is the subject property.
Correct.
Where is sheet 3 property in relation to the subject property?
Sheet 3 is 3 houses down to the right of us on our side of the street. And then sheet 4 is next door to that previous photo. So this would be 4 houses down on our side of the street, showing another larger 3-story duplex. And then flipping to sheet 5, this is actually across the street from them. Yes. Yeah. This is across the street from the previous photo from 4, another 3-story duplex style dwelling. And then lastly, photo 6, this is the next door neighbor of the previous photo. So you can see what I'm getting at. They're all kind of lined up adjacent to the site, all in this neighborhood next to each other. And then we'll flip back to sheet 1. So when you compare, really the FAR relief is triggered by adding a second story. And as I mentioned, the only way to not seek this variance would be to remove the garage or to not do the second story. But that's not in line or in character with the neighborhood. You could see a lot other bigger dwellings in the area. They're newer buildings. They're probably have more modern floor plans and amenities. So I think that's what this applicant here is trying to achieve. Now,
How many of those pictures that you show us, those newer buildings are over FAR?
I didn't unfortunately get the Oprahs, but so I can't tell you if they're over or not for sure, but they're much larger than our
Right, do they
building.
comply, is my question.
I don't know for
They may-
sure.
They may be larger, but if they comply, they comply.
I think that's a pretty important analysis because the house, putting a second floor in the house does not seem to be necessarily out of character with the neighborhood. But we would, I think, really need to understand how that property would compare to the other houses that you're pointing to and that are in the neighborhood.
I mean, aesthetics are one thing, but we're looking at it from a municipal land use standard.
All these photos, Tom, anyone, are they all in the R7 zone?
Yes, I believe so.
Can you confirm that?
Yes.
They are.
Yes.
Okay, good.
They're all on the street.
Right, I know that doesn't necessarily mean this.
They're in the R7.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Mhm. And there's no distinction between 1 family and 2 family for calculation of FAR, Eileen?
No, they have the same requirement.
So I would also ask you, in terms of lot size, these homes that you're showing, these multifamily homes, are the lots significantly larger than the property in question?
I think some, yes. There was kind of varying lot sizes in this area. It wasn't one, I didn't find that there was one substantially consistent lot size. There was probably about 3 or 4 different types of lots or sizes in this area. But I guess what I'm getting at is as you mentioned, aesthetics. Visually, whether they had FAR variances or not, I still think this house is being dwarfed by the other dwellings that are on the property. This is a standard 2-story dwelling. It's not, I don't think that it would be, I think it's more out of character leaving it like this and not having the additions based on.
What standard are you applying? So I'm trying to square your testimony here. You know, in terms of proof, dwarfing something is not a term in municipal land use law. So you don't have a hardship in terms of your property size, right?
No.
So then what standards are you applying to this? That, you can't tell me what size the FAR is in compliance on any of these other properties you showed. So it's safe to assume that they're in compliance, because I don't remember any of them coming in front of our board. These look like pretty new developments. Okay, so if that's the case, I'm trying to get an understanding here. The standard isn't like, I want it to look like everything else in the street. That's not the standard. So I'm trying to get your proofs, where your positive and negative criteria are met here.
So in the negative criteria is no substantial impact to the public good and the zone plan and zoning ordinance. So when you look at the zone, you look at the existing development that exists, I think aesthetically, it's very in line. Now, with regards to the master plan, they actually talk about designing with compatible prevailing neighborhood context. And I think that's a very important piece of planning, is they might not have FAR variances associated with those properties, but we talk about prevailing neighborhood context. That could be in terms of building size, in building massing, and I think that what we have here is something that's visually in line with what exists there.
How many are 6.2%, 7, or 6.2%, 7%?
I don't know.
FAR.
I don't know.
Okay.
Sure.
I have another related question.
Sure.
So you said as part of your testimony that you can't put a second story on this house in the FAR that's given, that you need this variance to put this at, but that part's not clear to me. And I don't know if you're able to testify to that in further, or whether an architect is needed to speak to that point. But it's not, I'm not sure I understand that.
Right. I would defer to the architect on that, but it probably wouldn't be feasible because you would be pinching in that second story. And I imagine architecturally, I don't know how many bedrooms or bathrooms you'd be able to fit up there, but it would probably not look so typical of a home if you had to.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you have further testimony?
Yeah, do you want me to? Yeah, I do. Okay. Sure. So we have an exhibit that we're going to enter into the record. I guess this would be A2.
Okay, could you describe what your entry please, and the date in which it was taken?
This is an aerial exhibit. It is dated May 1st, 2024, prepared by my office, Stonefield Engineering Design. And what this shows is these numbers here, they're basically pointing to the photos of the surrounding developments that we took pictures of in the handout exhibit. I think what's important to note here is, once again, we don't know the FAR, if there were FAR variances granted to these properties, but building footprints seem to be a lot larger than the existing dwelling, which is basically just adding the second floor.
Which ones are you referring to that are larger footprints? Which?
Next door is larger. That's probably a little bit larger. 3 and 4 are much larger, pointing
Let's look
to.
at the lot size of 3 and 4. Those are like double lots.
It looks like the same width as our lot.
Just so we're clear, because we need to lay a little bit of a foundation. So on A2, it's an aerial exhibit. We provided the date. You're showing Willow Street. You're showing lots and buildings on either side of Willow Street. And you have numerical depictions relating to arrows to various properties, correct?
That's correct.
And then on the bottom of A2, I can't see that. What does that say? It looks like they're numbers. Do they relate to the addresses?
That is correct.
Thank you.
Rob, the numbers in the circles on this exhibit refer to the photos, the numbered photos in the photo exhibit that was entered as A1.
So they correspond directly?
Right, number 5 is picture number 5, number 6,
Yeah.
et cetera.
That's helpful, thank you.
And they are identified also down here. This
So do you have actual
addresses.
data here? Like, do you have lot sizes? Do you have square footage of the homes? Do you have anything other than a area?
We do not. We just have the photos.
You go to the attachment J, which the engineer does determine radius, so you can see that the different lot sizes.
Right.
Yeah, but that's,
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
but you can get an idea.
you can get an
of the
idea,
depth of the other
right, but would be helpful is to actually
We don't
have a
have
tax
that.
map with some dimensions.
So- Any other further testimony?
Yeah, I'll just sum up very briefly. I really think that the proposed renovation and addition is going to bring this more in line with the neighborhood. Obviously, this house has seen some wear and tear over the years. It's in need of a refreshing upgrade, and I think that's what the applicant intends to do. I really think that the increase in FAR can be accommodated on this property. I think with regards to the coverage variance, that can be permitted under the C2 benefits versus detriments criteria of the municipal land use law because we're actually reducing that coverage. And then with regards to the setback, that's an existing condition that's associated with this existing building. Yeah. It doesn't, yeah, it's okay. That, and I think it was mentioned in the letter about the front setback variance, but we found a section of code, specifically section 606.3E1C, where it talks about the R7 front yard setbacks. And there's a footnote associated with that that says a variance shall not be required for existing front yard setbacks when a roof and supporting columns is added to an existing front stairs or stoop. And the roof shall not exceed 4 feet in depth and more than 6 feet from the stoop on any side. So I think that request is because these houses were built with conforming setbacks, but it shouldn't prevent you from being able to add that front cover.
Right. We're seeking continuation of the existing variance, but a new variance wasn't required.
Correct.
Anything else?
No, that sums up the testimony, but continue with questions.
Any further questions for our planner here?
Just for, that ordinance was 2646-23. It was an ordinance passed which redefined prevailing front yard setback. That exemption for front porticos was removed at that time, which is why I cited it for this. I know they're in the process of hopefully putting it back, but at this point it has not been.
It hasn't been
It
integrated
hasn't been
into the
integrated
ordinance.
back into the ordinance yet. So currently, it would require.
Yeah.
front yard
Okay.
We're
setback.
talking about 3 inches.
Right, and you're not exacerbating it,
No.
so.
Correct.
It's just going over the existing
23.9 versus
steps.
24.
No, it's 19.9 because we're putting a roof, so we have to measure to the roof, because right now it's not exempt from the front yard setback.
Right, so
So, okay, so this is, so your attachment E is incorrect.
Because they went, and that's, they had already handed in the application.
Okay, so.
We
you-
noticed for the 19.9.
Okay, so the. Okay, so 19.9 is what is being proposed?
Correct.
19.9 is what exists, and the roof is above the steps. It doesn't change it.
No roof there
No, no,
currently.
Right, right.
But 19.9
Is
is,
the current.
Is the number.
is the current and proposed
No,
front yard
it's
setback.
not the current setback. The
What-
stairs are not counted in setback.
Okay, so what is the current?
23.9.
Yes.
Okay, so 23.9 is the existing front yard setback. What is being proposed is 19.9 under the ordinances as currently.
Roof. That's how we noticed it.
Right, because you're adding a roof on the front steps.
Right. We followed the status completeness letter.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for the clarification.
So just to clarify, what is the extent of the variance for the front?
I think it's 4 feet.
4 feet.
4 plus.
Any other questions for Leonard? Any questions from the audience? Please come up, you gotta.
Sure.
Come up front here,
Just
just your name. and-
Diana
Name and
Burakov.
address. What?
Diana Burakov.
Just spell.
Diana Burakov.
And where you live in relation to the property.
10 Willow.
I'm sorry,
10 below.
10 Willow?
10
Okay.
below.
And your question?
And my question is it a residential, one family residential?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And how much is the square footage are you going to make it?
The architect, site project manager. Answer that.
Do I know the square footage
Altogether,
altogether? It's 2,446.
2,400.
Wait, can you speak louder so we can all
Yes,
hear
we
that?
2,400. The answer was 2,400.
2,446.
2,446 square feet is what's being proposed. And does that include the garage?
Everything. Dwelling, deck, condenser pad, garage, driveway, walkways, and front stairs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience? Okay, then I will, unless you have something you'd like to say, because I don't want to.
I do.
Comment. Okay, go ahead.
Unless you want
No, finish up. and I'll-
I was-
comment.
to, going to request that it be carried at this point.
Fine.
So that we can find a date when the architect who is impossible to pin down, and find a date. So I can't commit. I mean, you can,
Well, let's do this, let's get you a date.
why don't we, I was gonna say, I can reach out to you tomorrow after we talk.
That's fine, let's get you a date so that you're on the book, so to speak, and then we can.
And we'll, we'll go look at the tax maps and look at the lot sizes
Right,
and
so Michael, I
the
would
tax
suggest-
record should give us square footage as well.
And you should be able to do an apples to apples comparison or somewhat on the FAR. And I would even maybe suggest that if you look at A1, the first photo, it also looks like that there's some bigger buildings in the rear.
If you, do the Google Street View and go down the street, this is, even when it's completed, will be one of the smaller facades on the street. Yes.
Define the neighborhood and do the calculations.
When do you have available?
July 1st?
July 1st? Put it down and then
What would be the next one?
next one,
15th.
July 15th,
Be sure I'm gonna be out of state,
the first
Around-
15th.
around the 4th of July. Yeah.
All
No,
right.
no,
Well,
15th should be
let's
fine.
Forget the first, yeah, it's
Yeah.
15th. Okay, so for anyone here that's on this application, it will be carried till July 15th. If it is changed subsequently, please keep track of the website of Town Hall, and post it, and there'll be no further notice given on this application.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to ask, what's the Titan Fitness timer for?
Sorry, the timer?
What is it?
That's for the planning board meeting, or the, sorry, the
That's
TC
township
meetings.
committee. They've been-
They cut you off in 3 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get that here, but they won't get to us. Exactly. Give me the hug. Okay, so, all right, next up, we have calendar 398524, 9892 Hartshorn Drive, Ross Nation Improvement. No, this is 98 Hartshorn.
Both raise your right hand, please.
That'd be so great.
Yeah, you got it.
Do you swear from testimony to give tonight?
Oh,
Tonight's hearing,
you know what?
Tell the truth, nothing but the truth?
Hold on, we're gonna take a 5-minute break real quick, okay? And then we'll get back after it.
We'll do a reswear.
Right.
Perman.
And Richard Keller, Keller.
Okay, who'd like to start?
I would.
Great.
So to let you know about the 9892 proposal that's here this evening, my wife and I moved to 98 Hartshorn 11 years next month. And in September of 21, we acquired the property next door. And with our three boys, we came up with the concept and idea to develop a home office for my work, as well as in-law suites and some recreational use. We hired the architectural firm of Clausen, who happens to be present this evening. And during this development, we had the idea to take two driveways and combine them into one and have that opportunity really to remove some blacktop, remove asphalt, and kind of create more green space and landscaping. So in that, we also hired other professionals at Casey and Keller, and Rich Keller is present this evening to go into a little bit more detail of that.
So real quick, so you're building the one structure, correct?
Yes.
Right now, okay. And then you have the existing home. Okay, just trying to figure out the whole layout of this thing. Okay.
Very good.
Your qualifications.
Good evening. Yeah, I'm a licensed professional engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey, licensed as an engineer since 1989 and a planner since 1990. Held a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from Rutgers University with a concentration in water resources and environmental engineering. And I also hold a master's degree with a concentration, master's in architecture, with a concentration in urban planning and design from the New Jersey Institute of Technology, where I also taught for approximately 11 years in both graduate and undergraduate divisions. I've appeared before this board, the planning board, approximately 110 boards throughout the state of New Jersey as both engineer and planner. I have also provided planning services to the Borough of Caldwell Board of Adjustment, and for 3 years I was the engineer to the Township of Long Hill. My licenses, brand new ones, just came about a month ago, so they're all in good stead, and it's nice to be back before the board.
Very good. Your license is in good shape?
Yes, it is.
Great, thanks so much. Please proceed.
Yes. The property in question is 98 and 92. I'm pointing actually to part of your package here. This is the Cooperman variance application of sheet 1, variance map. And the property, if we look at the area map up on the right-hand corner, is the left side is number 98, the right side is number 92 Hartshorn, 13 and 14 respectively. The two properties are located wholly within the R3 residential zone. Properties behind us on Watchung are in the R4, and the property across the street is a roughly 32-acre Board of Ed property known as the Okie Tract. The property basically sits about mid-block between Highview to the west or left and Watchung Road to the right. As indicated, let me just quickly go over the size of the properties. Both are fully conforming lots. They both are larger than the 29,000 square foot required. And they both exceed both the minimum lot width and lot depth for the zone. 98 Hartshorn being 121 feet wide by 267 feet deep and having about 33,940 square feet. And that is, as Ross said, that's where he and his wife and his three growing boys live. They had the opportunity to purchase the property next door, which was a Spanish colonial house in some state of disrepair back in 2021, late. And what they that lot itself is 115 feet wide by 267 feet deep. That is being a little smaller at 30,704. Obviously, both are larger than the 29,000 square foot threshold. The left property is owned by Ross and Rachel, not from Friends, the Coopermans. And the right property is actually owned by Sausalito Holdings, which is an LLC, which Ross is the sole owner in. So we're here without an attorney today. Ross is the applicant, but he is the sole member of the LLC. What really they sought Clausen Architects to do was work within the existing footprint of that two-story house and reduce it to one story and integrate it, and then fill up the program, which was really to reimagine the home as a one-story home office, in-law suite, guest suite, and a recreation space for the Coopermans and their children. So while this meets the criteria of a home, it's a dwelling on its own, it has bedrooms, it has bathrooms, it has a kitchen, et cetera. It really serves as an ancillary space for the Coopermans, but it is on its own freestanding lot. It's not going to be merged. There's a number of these cases we have in town between Taylor and Forest. There's a number of areas in town where this is not completely uncommon. But the house on the right, which is under construction, required no variances. It's under construction. It also had a grading permit approved, and it had a solar sediment control permit approved. So it's all under construction, fully licensed. If I go to just the proposal as was indicated, I'm going to go to my exhibit A1, which is our photo board. This is photo board number 1, exhibit A1, dated 5/20/2024. All photographs were taken by myself this last Saturday afternoon, May 18th. And the photograph number 1 is the view of Hartshorn Drive, 98 in the background, the driveway into 92 in the foreground. And you can see there's a driveway that rises steeply at about 18% up to a level area. And there's the driveway from 92 right next to it. And there's a rather sea of pavement. There's about a 45-foot curb cut from one end to the other. There was an opportunity, photograph number 2 actually shows the driveway into service the one-story home. We saw the opportunity of 2 driveways, 16 feet in width, 16 and a half, a little smaller on the right. We saw an opportunity to actually, since the houses will be used as one, to merge those into a single driveway. The problem is our ordinance requires that driveways in the R3 and the R4 zone need to be 5 feet off the property line. So if this was the R5 or 6, there is no setback. We could cross properties with the driveway, because what we'd like to do is utilize the left driveway in a slightly altered configuration and then turn into a reduced driveway facing the garage doors on 92. We have 2 driveways that are less than 5 feet off the property line. I would point out right now, neither of those 2 driveways that are there currently don't meet the existing requirement. Whereas you're supposed to have 5 feet and 5 feet, which gives you 10 feet between them. Our driveways are as little as 5 feet apart as it is. The landscaping that exists between the dwelling, between the 2, as well as all in front of the Cooperman's property, is all landscaping that the Cooperman's put in. And I think we showed it to show evidence of the type of landscape that they, and the care they take in the aesthetics and the plantings in the home, and that would continue across the front. And as indicated, photograph number 3, is standing right across the street. You can see again a relatively very low, long, linear, not long, but linear horizontal house, very unassuming. And it gives us the opportunity, by taking out the driveway, to really do a complete landscaping plan. We'll do long linear plantings to sort of reinforce that horizontality, bring up trees to sort of block some of the windows. And it's an opportunity to get rid of at least 900 square feet of pavement in the process. Photograph number 4 was actually a picture of the existing landscaping at the existing home, again, just to show the type of landscaping. Most of that is going to be remaining. One of the other features that they're looking to do, since we're reworking the driveway, was the driveway comes up steeply at about 18% on this little chevron shape, and then it drops down at about 15%, 16%. We're looking at bringing the driveway away from the house. We can cut the slope to about 15%, reduce some pavement in the area. There'll be a larger sidewalk, but it's another opportunity for terracing some landscaping up to the existing building. The net result is that we do need variance relief for the 2 driveways being less than 5 feet. Right now on the existing property, the 98 property on the left, there's an existing non-conforming condition as it relates to front yard coverage. So we exceed the 30% front yard coverage on the left side property at 39.2, but actually by reworking the driveway, even though we're consolidating on one property, we're dropping that to 36.8. So we're not getting down to 30%, but we are getting closer to the ordinance requirement while losing 935 square feet on the 92 site, a net of 48 increase on the right side. That's because we are adding some walks to go between the property, but the net is a reduction of about 880 feet plus or minus. I think the bluestone walk in the front may be deleted, so it's still a work in progress, but we'd like to, before we fully develop the landscape plan, we wanted to come before this board and get relief for the zero setback on the driveway. Obviously, this is not a C1, there's no hardship here. This is where we think it's a better planning alternative. It's an opportunity under the C2 flexible variance, where we think the proposed plan is a better alternative than a legally conforming one. And the purposes of the Land Use Act that are advanced are safety. We're taking two driveways that exist, as you saw in the photos, virtually side by side, eliminating any conflicts. I'll be the first one to admit, there's not a lot of residential movements out of single-family dwellings, but it is an opportunity to separate those driveways and get rid of a large curb cut. As we all know, Hartshorn is a major walking street in the afternoons and in the mornings for children, dogs, et cetera, and it's right across from the Oki track across the street. The other thing I think that we're enhancing in terms of the purpose of the Land Use Act is we're making a more attractive condition by allowing for landscape opportunities by taking out that entire driveway and allowing for dense landscaping, similar to the level of care and detail that the Coopermans have shown on their existing dwelling. We think that there's no negative criteria to the public, there's no disadvantage to the public, it's actually a safer condition, and I see nothing contrary to the intent and purpose of the master plan and zoning ordinance. We're looking to maintain Millburn and Short Hills as a residential character, as a community of residential community of highest character. I think this is just reinforcing. I think it's a great project. I think that I couldn't find any old pictures, including on Street View of the old Spanish colonial that was in significant disrepair. I think, and I have to say, of all the modern houses I've seen go up on Hartshorn, I think this is about the most understated and elegant we've seen so far. So I think it's a good application. I think Ross wants to do good things for the neighborhood and for the property, and we hope they will approve.
So real quick, say it's approved, what would it take to unwind it?
He basically put the second driveway back in again.
Would you need a variance to do that, correct?
I would only need, I may need a variance because I might, actually, I'm not sure because of reworking this area. If I needed a variance, it would possibly be to do a slight bump up in the front yard coverage on the current lot. It wouldn't be as high as it is now, but there might be a slight bump. I can't guarantee, but I think we could actually, if we had to unravel it, believe me, the way this house is designed, it's married to this house for a long time. But if there was a market and the Coopermans or their heirs in 100 years decide to sell it, it could be unraveled by just taking that landscape out, putting that back in. You would not need a variance on 92. I'm just not guaranteeing 100%. I might not need some slight deviation in front yard coverage on 98.
Would you think about putting an easement for the second lot, for the driveway?
I
mean, you're saying that the house to the 92 is, is this freestanding house with its own kitchen, bathroom, and so on.
Yep.
Would you have a driveway easement that would allow them to access over that in case it doesn't transfer to somebody else?
I think if they sold it, they would put one in. I think the reality is, if the Coopermans were to sell that house, they would unravel. I think at that point, because if you look at the way we're planning on using it, we're taking out a fair amount of pavement at the back, so you pull it and you back into this area. So they really are wedded. I think if the Coopermans, and again, I can't imagine the way this has been designed, it would ever be sold separately, but I think at that point you would unravel it. You would go back to putting the curb where it was before. You'd kick it out to meet the 5-foot requirement, and you'd reinstate the driveway 5 feet off on the right side and put it back out.
Can the house exist as a house or not really?
Yeah.
It can, okay. It's independent, it's gonna be an independent one.
Does this short horseshoe drive?
I could live there. My family could live there in a heartbeat.
Does the horseshoe driveway currently exist?
But yeah, of course, the horseshoe driveway, currently, I'm gonna mark this, and it's gonna make it actually, I'm just gonna point it out on the. If you look here, you can see the driveway comes up, and it makes a flat spot, and then comes right back down. So 18% up, and then back down to about 15%. So it does exist currently. It's underneath the, faintly underneath the driveway. You can see it's much closer. So we're moving the driveway about 15 feet further back from the house. we're putting a series of terraced patios or landing up to the front doors to make sort of a more appropriate entrance into the house.
You might have said this, but just to confirm, are there any other double houses like this in Short Hills or Milburn Township that have this sort of double driveway or driveway serving two independent homes?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I do, a lot of other towns actually encourage it. So we do a lot of work out in Harding Township, or we do, they encourage you to do that. Certainly, other communities too. But, look, I'll be the first to say, if they were to unravel, then you get who's plowing, is your driveway, is your car parked in mine? But I think that you have an opportunity for the next foreseeable future, these two properties, and they've really been designed. So while this is an independent home and I could live there, it's essentially a one-bedroom home with a beautiful kitchen and some great recreation space. But it's not really what you'd think of as you'd sell it in a heartbeat. It'd be a unique buyer. So I think you're really wedding these two. And I have to thank Ross for putting his money where his mouth is and making that commitment. So the fact is, unlikely it'll ever be sold. Could it be? Absolutely. And then you would just, I don't think before you did an easement and before you did a cross easement and arrangements for plowing, you would take out the driveway and put the home back on the property.
And what is the width of that driveway after it enters?
Currently, it's 16 and a half on each side. We're proposing 15.
15, okay, 15 feet wide.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Any questions from the audience for Mr. Keller or the applicant? Any comments regarding this application? Not close the public portion.
Can I just, before the board deliberates, just a couple things to keep in mind, is that, variances run with the land. And we hear all the time about personal circumstances and people want to do this and they want to do that for their own personal situation, whatever it may be, whether it's the type of car they drive or something different. And so certainly if the board were inclined to entertain a variance application, I certainly would encourage the board to require as a condition of approval or conditions of approval, the formal establishment of a cross-access easement with a maintenance agreement with regard to this driveway. Because you never know what's going to happen in the next 100 years. And if it turns out that the applicant wants to, or the applicants, two different property owners, want to sell one of the properties, et cetera, you may not know about that. And if they want to change up the easement or change up the driveways, then they can come back to the board and explain the circumstances. It gives a better handle, and frankly, I think it's much more consistent with municipal land use law in understanding the variances run with the land and not personal to the applicant.
Can I have a motion to open the public portion of the meeting?
So moved.
A second.
We would have no problem. It's actually more work for me, which is nice, but we have no problem with doing it because obviously Dr. Cooperman can change an easement in the future. So if they decide to unravel and sell it, they can extinguish those easements. So we have no problem with the formality. If it gives the board a bigger comfort level, we have no problem.
Yeah, I mean, these properties, in the zone are zoned for one-family homes.
Right.
That's what the zoning requires, and I think that if the board is inclined to grant the application, that we should treat them as such.
No problem. I'll close the public portion. Any other comments?
From the board?
Yeah.
I'll go, but I'll wait.
I think that, with the houses being married to each other, I think this makes sense. And I do think the prudent thing and for municipal land use law would be to impose the easement requirement of them, formalizing that, so.
Yeah, I have no issue with this. Essentially, like I said, it would be nice to make sure that you have that in place. Because what your kids do, what everyone else does, who knows, right? I mean, you never really know what may happen to this property or how it will wind up ending up, so to speak. So, at least there's some way to get a driveway back in there would make sense. So other than that, no issue with this. That's important.
I'm gonna say I have a unique personal experience. My parents' house, where I grew up in Maryland, actually has a driveway that joins their neighbor's driveway. I have to tell you, it looks like a landing pad. It's really weird. And you drive down the neighborhood, these quaint little homes, and then these two driveways. That now they're double driveways, which is different than what you're proposing. You're proposing one conduit for both houses. But when I saw it today, when I drove by, beautiful home on the left, exquisite home on the right. Honestly, in terms of modern houses, I can't stand them, but that one's so cool, really beautiful. But I just thought, what a shame. I just feel like it's going to ruin it. And maybe I could be convinced if you put something in the resolution that says that it will be, that you will take the responsibility for undoing it in the event that either house is sold. Because I feel like it's this beautiful back there, it's idyllic, the Okie track, just gorgeous, and then this like weirdness. I'm uncomfortable with it, but I could be convinced listening to my colleagues.
Any other thoughts? Can I have a motion?
Move approval
With the
with
condition?
with the condition, sorry, yes.
And the condition is that the property, the applicants will establish a cross-access and maintenance easement in a form to the satisfaction of the board.
So does that translate to he will undo it if either house sold?
Now, that's a separate condition, that's up to the board, if the board wants to impose that condition, that would have to be part of the motion.
Because once it sells, what happens?
Well, I would not impose that condition because you don't know whether they're selling these two lots together as one thing or they're selling them separately, and that's.
But it could be.
It could be, but then there's the access easement and the maintenance agreement so that it's clear that you're sharing a driveway, and then if they want to unwind that themselves, they can. But
Well, but there's two concepts here. The first concept on the cross-access and maintenance agreement talks about legal permission to come onto each other's property and to maintain, who's gonna maintain snow plowing, cracks in the macadam, et cetera. The separate issue is, well, wait a second, do we really want two single-family homes to have a shared driveway? From a planning perspective, as you're driving down the street, and what do we want to see or not see? So that's up to the board, but I'm saying they're two separate legal concepts to consider.
It's hard to put in constraints of sale. I mean, I think that's something that they would have to deal with at that time. I mean, if you decide to break it up, they're gonna deal with it. So it goes back to my question was, are we creating Pandora's box of variance relief to put driveway back in? And it doesn't seem like that's the case.
But the other thing is, I feel like we spend a lot of time on this board talking about consistency in neighborhoods, and this is clearly not consistent. Mr. Keller couldn't name one other property that had this in Milburn Township.
Right, so I guess put it another way, if one of the properties changed hands and one of our families moved in, two separate single-family operations, and they have a shared driveway, is that okay? Well, it may be, but that's the issue.
Stewart Road?
It's across the street from me. I'm with you.
So I think
Yeah,
they-
that was actually, 89 Stewart,
89 Stewart has it.
Yeah.
They could go back.
going in the back, yeah. The Johnsons and then, yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, so that's the answer.
So anyway, as we have a motion on the table, so,
But this is just with the easement, not with the requirement that if the house gets sold.
Correct, correct.
it would be. That's the motion I'm making.
I'll second that.
Joseph Caulfield,
Yes.
Sean Drew Harjani,
Yes.
Amy Lawrence.
yes,
Gary Rosen,
yes.
Regina Truitt,
No,
Jessica Glenn,
Yes.
Ed Plattner.
Yes, good luck with the project.
Thank you.
All right, and lastly this evening, we have 46 East Star Chart, application 398124. Just will you refuse them?
yes. A glass of wine. Me too.
Very good.
Oh, did she have to go?
Take care. No, that's not, it looks like Alan, AT&T Alan.
Oh, yes. The schoolhouse.
The air.
Yes, of course. Mr. Rose, will be speaking this evening along with both your.
Yes.
Applicants. Great, so we'll swear you all.
Everybody just raise your right hand. Do you swear from testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Your name to the record.
Matthew Ralston.
Dawn Austin.
Dave Wilson, ROSEN.
Who would like to start?
I can start.
Great.
Hi, we're Dawn and Matt Ralston. First, I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to our application. We have lived in our house for 11 years, and we love our house and the neighborhood. We live across from Oakey Tract, which is great to have nature right across the street. We feel that this is our forever house, but over the years, our needs have changed, and we would like to make some improvements. The garage has always been a sticking point, because when we pull in, we have to be very careful not to bang car doors against each other or the wall. So we would like to increase the garage space. Also, we'll hopefully have our kids driving very soon, and we'd like to be able to put the cars indoors. Our kitchen is an awkward layout. When everyone comes in, they have to walk through the narrow middle of our kitchen. So we would like to improve that. We entertain family a lot for the holidays, and ideally I would love to have a kitchen where everyone could congregate and not be standing in the way while I'm cooking. And while improving the house, we would like to renovate our bathrooms and improve the bedrooms for our kids. So we are adding 1 bathroom and 2 closets upstairs. We are here for 3 variances that Dave Rosen will now go into, and again, thank you for your time and consideration.
Qualifications of the board, please.
Licensed architect in New Jersey, New York, New Hampshire. I'm a partner at Rosen Kelly Conway in Summit. I have appeared before this board, many other boards. My license is in good standing. Anything more?
Qualifications are accepted.
Thank you. I know we have some neighbors here because nobody else would stick around this late into the evening. So I just want to make sure that if at any time you want to see something, or if I say something and you have a question, I'm glad to move things around, but I don't want to block the board members at the same time. Okay, so we are here for 3 variances, as Dawn mentioned. First, I just want to describe a little more about what the project is, and then I'll go into what the 3 variances are. So you can see in the photo over here, you can see the front of the house. You can see.
Hold on a second. In terms of evidence, so we have a sort of a photo board consisting of, appears to be 6, right?
Yes.
So is the sheet, right, go ahead, that's where I'm going. So you're going.
This is an enlargement of the photo that's at the top center of the photo board that you have in front
So
of
we're
you.
not gonna mark it separately, because it's.
Whatever
the
you
same
prefer.
photo. It's not.
Yeah, it's not new information, it's just bigger.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so you can see a few things here. One is you can see the front of the house, you can see the Oakey Tract on the, across the street, and you can see that the road bends around to the left. What we're proposing on the front of the house is to add a 3rd garage bay. We didn't come all the way with the new garage bay to the front. We've come out 9.5 feet, and then we're adding another 2 feet in the back, just to get the total amount of space that we would need for the 3rd garage bay. So that 3rd garage bay causes 2 variances. One is front yard setback, where the requirement is 40.1. It's currently 39.5, and the proposed is 30.8. Okay, and the second variance that the 3rd garage bay causes is being a 3rd garage bay. because in the R5 zone where this house is located, 2 garage bays are permitted, and a third garage bay is only permitted by variance. So both of those variances are related to the front of the house. And in the board over here, B6, which is the elevation, the exterior elevation, the front of the house, you can see that there's no change in the silhouette. It's really just a piece that comes forward 1 story on the far right of the house. And when it comes out toward the front, that is directly in line with the left side of the house. So there's a straight line. That's how far we came out. That's why it's a little bit of an unusual number of 9.6 feet, which is not quite enough to get a whole garage. But we made it so that those 2 would align. Now, when we do that, because the road bends around, it's a little more, it's difficult to maintain the front yard setback, the front yard setback that exists across the rest of the house. And so that's why there's a variance for that. And then at the back of the house, and you can see it in the photo board that was just mentioned, directly below that in the center on the bottom is a photo of the back of the house. Didn't blow this one up, but there are 2 wings that project out, and the goal of this project relating to this is to make the kitchen sort of a regular kitchen with an island, and to add, as Dawn mentioned, a bathroom and 2 closets in the space above. And in looking at the rear elevation, you can see this space in here is the piece that's added. It's about a foot back from one side and about 2 feet back from the other. So it doesn't come all the way out, but it substantially improves the layout of the kitchen. And this one, along with the garage, is the reason for the third variance, which is floor area ratio. Floor area ratio is allowed to be 30%, currently 28.9, so it's a little under, and we're going to 33.7, so 3.7% over on the floor area ratio. And that floor area ratio includes both the first floor, second floor, and the garage. So it's the sum of those 3 areas that cause that. In looking at the floor plan, I think I'll just abandon this other easel because it's too hard to get there. In looking at the floor plan, as Dawn mentioned, the existing kitchen is awkward, particularly for a house of this size. When you come in from the garage or from the outside, you come into the breakfast area. There is no mudroom, except that there are a lot of shoes and things in the breakfast area. And the kitchen, you then have to come through the kitchen so that you could reach one hand on the stove, one hand on the sink, and all of the traffic coming into the house has to go through the working part of the kitchen. And so what we're proposing, what we would like to do is to change that to make a more typical kitchen with an L of cabinets and then the island in the middle. And then the breakfast area, we've moved over half in the existing space and half in the addition. And that has allowed us to do a mudroom, closet, and pantry in the area that's the current breakfast area. So that's the scope of that. In looking at the property gives more than half of its space over to the public side. It's on a corner. The address is on East Hartshorn, but the house actually faces Oakey and is directly across the street from the Oakey tract, as you saw in the first photo. And so more than half of the property is on the public side, and it's just lawn that wraps around.
and then there's the house, and then there's a small area, sort of a triangular area in the back, which is sort of the private space. When we go back to the photos, we can see that private space in the center, in that same photo, in the center on the bottom. And the Rostons have put up a row of arborvitae against the fence there in order to provide property both for themselves and for their adjacent neighbor. And in the photo in the lower left, you can see that there's quite a limited space between the driveway and those arborvitae. The addition back here is compliant in its location. It's compliant in building coverage, lot coverage. It's just not in floor area ratio because of the way the existing house was built. This is barely visible to anybody. The way that the street is, it's not possible to see it from the street. And for the neighbor who lives in the adjacent property on the other side of these arborvitae, the arborvitae tend to block out or provide the separation and the privacy at the first floor. And on the second floor, there are no windows on that side of their house. So we were careful in our consideration of that. And so, as I mentioned, it sort of fills in there. Going back to the first part of the presentation, which was the garage, you can see the garage on the end of the house in this photo on the upper right. And sorry if is it too far away? You have it in front. Okay. And then the driveway is fairly close to the property line. It's parallel with the property line. And there are some plants in between. And the neighboring house facing the Rosden's house, the neighboring house to the right, has their driveway and garage also facing this part of the property. Now, it's relatively thin in terms of planting between the two garages. And we don't have a landscape plan, but we'd be glad to add whatever was desired either by the board or by neighbors in order to provide more privacy, if that was desired, between the two garages sort of looking at each other. But again, there are no windows on the first floor. This is a two-car garage. This, as I understand it, is just a smaller enclosure. It's not a full garage, like a garbage can enclosure that also faces this side. There are some windows, sort of diamond shaped up above, but other than that, there are no other windows that face directly to this. Nonetheless, we'd be glad to provide.
And you're not really having any windows on your structure.
Correct.
It's not pretty much the way it's just an extra garage door.
Right, and looking at the side of what we're doing. On, I think it's B7, you can see that the garage, that side of the house, all of the upper part remains, the two-car garage. We're actually shifting that by adding 2 feet in the back in order to prevent the whole additional garage coming too far forward, and then adding the additional garage bay there. And as you can see in this elevation, it's lined up, as I mentioned, with the other side of the front of the house. Now, as I mentioned, in the R5 zone, the expectation is 14,500 square feet. This property is 17,000. I'll just say 17,000 and change. And so one of the questions that the board has to answer is whether the property can sustain the additional development. And I think that by having the building coverage conforming, the lot coverage conforming, and each of these other statistics that we're not touching, there is the corner of the front, which is in the variance for the garage.
and just to look at that again. On that first floor plan, going back to V3, you can see that the area of the variance goes diagonally from the corner of the garage to sort of the corner of the existing garage. So it's half of that. It's a triangular section because the road bends around here. And the purpose of this third garage is really to be able to get garbage cans and an additional car off of the driveway, which is right against the property line, and get it into the garage so that it's not just sitting out there. I think that makes the property more attractive to the people who walk their dogs in the neighborhood, and I think that it's a little bit nicer for the neighborhood. This neighborhood is essentially surrounded by larger properties. So this is a piece of the zoning.
Is this a new?
This is new.
So let's mark this as A1.
Want me to mark it, or would you like to? All right.
I don't get paid.
A1 or A2?
A1, please. Right, we don't have any more.
And describe it for us.
This is a portion of the Milburn zoning map with a couple of things marked on it. It says subject property, which is here, which is right out at the corner of this collection of R5 properties, surrounded by either conservation areas, Greenwood Gardens, the reservation, and Old Short Hills Park, and then Oakey Tract. And then around it is R4, it's in the slightly darker beige, and in the lighter beige is the R3. So this is considered as 1/3 of an acre. These are half an acre, and these are roughly 2/3 of an acre. Now, the houses that one would think are across the street, since there's nothing at the Oakey Tract, if you look at the dead end on Hartshorn, I'll just turn it for you. Okay. All of those houses going along that dead end have 3 or 4 car garages. And on Oakey Road, as it comes toward Woodfield, there are 3 houses here that are in this R5 zone. And then the first house that's in the R3, that has 3 garage bays. I didn't go through the whole rest of it. Some of them face the back, and I'm not, even with aerial photos, it's a little difficult because of some of the trees and so on. This one is just the one that I marked because that's the bigger historic one that has 4 garage bays, even though it's in the R5. Anyway, so I just have that as the context for what's in this immediate neighborhood that one might perceive is if they're walking and so on. I don't think that in this case, it doesn't feel to me when I drive or walk in this neighborhood, I don't see those zoning distinctions. It's not like some neighborhoods where the houses are a very different style, or they're much narrower, or the side yards change a lot. It feels pretty consistent. There are different ages of homes, so that as it goes around on Woodfield, some of the houses are a bit older. But it feels consistent to me, and I would have to look on the zoning map to know whether there was a different zone and whether there were different requirements, and therefore whether it was allowed to have 2 garage bays or 3 garage bays. I would have to look at this map in order to know that. But in just walking around the neighborhood, I don't feel that distinction.
Question, where's the applicant's property? If you could just.
It is right here. It's at the subject property, and it's down into this.
Just to be clear about that also, what you're saying, if I'm understanding this right, is that these houses with the red dots are R3, right? So.
These are actually R4.
Okay. And our property is R5.
Yes.
And there's nothing marked on here in R5 that has a 3-car garage?
And
Is there-
Dawn
that's the
was
question.
correcting me that there's a house, 2 or 3 around the block on East Hartshorn that has 3, I think. I just drove, some of the ones that were facing the front I could see. The ones facing the side were harder, and the ones in the back, I looked online and tried to look at aerial photos, but it was just difficult to see some of those. And people who live in this neighborhood would have a better sense of that. I just did the ones that I could tell fairly easily.
But effectively, right across the street are 3-car garages.
These are 3 or 4.
4, right,
But potentially on much larger lots.
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can, I'm glad to show you this. I don't know, that I haven't indicated, you can look, I'll just pass it around. But just graphically, one of the things that struck me is that sometimes when there's a change in zone, you see that immediately on a zoning map or a tax map where the properties are definitely a different size. Some of those are quite big. One of those that's in the R4 could easily qualify for R3, but that's, rather than trying to pick each property, it's sort of grouped together as a neighborhood. And what I'm just trying to show is that my sense of the neighborhood is not like there's a distinct boundary. These should have 2, these should have 3, or these should have 4. That surrounding this is kind of a mix. That's the way I perceive it.
So your lot is technically oversized from R5, right?
Yes.
So would you say that what you're doing on your property is more akin to what would R4 size lot would normally have?
Yes.
Right, so-
And it's halfway between R5
Yeah, I
and
know, like
R4.
3,000 short, but like 2,500 over, or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So you're like almost dead in the middle of
Right.
R5 and R4.
Yes, and that's, part of that is a corner property. Corner properties tend to be a little bit bigger. In
Right.
many towns, if somebody's creating lots, they want the corner lots to be about 20% larger, just because, again, so much is given over to the public side with 2 front yards. And so they usually make those properties a little bit bigger. So that is what I'm presenting, that this property is at 17,000, roughly 200. It is sort of midway kind of between the R5 and the R4, and that, to me, puts it midway between 2 garage bays and 3 garage bays, recognizing that we're not counting halves.
Got it. Any questions? Any further testimony?
Yeah, I was just going to mention that since there's a floor area ratio as a part of this, I just wanted to comment on some of the things, the positive and negative criteria. For the floor area ratio, we do need 5 votes in favor out of 7 voting. So there was a project narrative that was submitted with the application in which I addressed a lot of these things, and I'll just run through some of them. So as I've said, the subject property borders the R4 zone where 3 garage spaces are permitted, and several properties in the vicinity, mostly in the R4, have those 3 garages. The garage does not, it does not impact, and nor does the addition in the back, it doesn't impact the character of the neighborhood. I think, I mean, it's obviously visible, the garage is visible in the front, but it doesn't distinctly change the character of the neighborhood. There are no neighbors directly across looking back, and there isn't another house directly behind looking straight at the addition we're doing in the back. There are neighbors on, as this wraps around the corner, there are 2 neighbors there, and we've tried to be aware of the possible concerns they may have, but they're here, so they'll certainly present it better than I could anyway. The garage addition does eliminate the need to keep a car outside. It keeps the garbage cans. In one of those photos, you can see the garbage can outside. It would be nice to be able to put those away. So that goes to sort of the in the New Jersey Municipal Land Use Law, it's promotion of a desirable visual environment, just making it look nicer. The rear addition is very well screened with the existing arborvitae hedge and limited visibility from the neighboring property. And the rear addition is no closer to the property line than any portion of the existing house. And I feel like the appearance of the house is enhanced. And just with regard to the negative, I don't think that there's anything that is being proposed here which is substantial enough with a negative impact either on this property or on the neighborhood or on the character of the neighborhood, the utility or the value of the neighborhood that would constitute a substantial detriment to the public good, which is one of the standards. And there will not be any additional or undesirable noise, glare, odors, or any other kinds of burdens on the adjoining properties or the neighborhood itself. So I just wanted to present those items, and then I'm glad to answer any questions.
Is
Yes.
there a third story being added with those dormers, or are they just
No.
decorative?
No, there's no third story there.
The dormers exist.
This is the front of the house where the dormers exist, and in the back, there's nothing. It's just a shallow pitched roof that only extends up on enough of an incline and to shed the water.
Okay, so they're
There's
not,
no
they're
third
not
floor.
functional.
The
Just
third
looking at
floor
the
dormers
existing.
in the front,
Mhm.
they're just added, right?
Yeah.
They're just added.
There's-
Thank- That's my
Right,
question.
the stair doesn't go up there.
Thanks.
Right.
There's a hatch.
Hold on.
And you're
Okay.
not adding space up there, you're not adding.
We're not touching
space.
that.
Okay, thank you.
Did you give any thought to, instead of pushing the garage to the street, pushing the other
Yes.
side out, what did you come up with there? Maybe you could put garbage cans in and things like that. Room for doors opening.
Were you asking about whether to put the garage in the back?
Well, instead of to the street
Mhm.
side, to the back side.
Yeah, we've been working together for much longer than Dawn and Matt were expecting, because we've gone through a lot of versions of this. We did try to do that. The compromise that we arrived at was adding 2 feet in the back. But again, if you look at V1, you can see that it's quite limited. The amount of space that they have in the backyard is quite limited compared to the size of the property. And we considered coming straight back, but then the garage was sort of right against where we're proposing a patio. So we did consider that, and we felt that we would come here with the plan that we felt was better for the way that they would use their property.
But you could not make it a third bay, just make the 2 bays bigger, wider.
Yes, that's another possibility that we've discussed many times, so that, as you mentioned, garbage cans, bikes, some gardening things, those sorts of things could move into that back area.
In fact, sort of related to this question, what I'm thinking about, like, on the FAR,
Mhm.
I believe you're 3.7% over.
Yes.
And when you think about it as a percentage, that's not, it doesn't stand out dramatically, except when I think about it in terms of the size of house, right? So if these numbers are right, that looks like 644 square feet at the 3.7, is that accurate? That's my calculation.
That sounds about right, yes. I have that on one of the, actually, the engineering drawing has something on that. We'll go with that number. I'm sure that it's,
So along the lines of what you were just discussing, I'm wondering, did you consider other ways to be in line or more in line with the allowed FAR requirement? It seems like a lot of square footage to me to be over.
yeah, well, I think that part of the impact on this is the statistic, and some of it is sort of the way that feels. If you're in the neighborhood, how much of that do you perceive? I think that the addition in the back which is about 2/3 of that. It's sort of 1/3 of the garage, 1/3 is the kitchen breakfast area, and 1/3 is the 2 closets and a bathroom. Other than from some vantage point in the backyard of the neighbor, the adjacent neighbor, other than that, it's difficult to see the addition in the back. And so the question, I think, is just about the garage in the front. That's a piece that comes out, the road bends around, and I mentioned before that we're aligning that with the wing that comes forward on the left side of the house. So we considered a variety of things. One of the problems is that a garage, in order to be a garage, is different than the idea of having the 2-car garage and then some additional storage space. To add a garage, we have to add at least 200 square feet, or a little bit more than that to make it sort of fit. Right now, the garage is 20 by 21, so you can get cars in there. It's a little bit tight sometimes, depending on how somebody parks, whether there's anything else stored in there, that kind of thing. I don't know if that answers your question. We did consider, and we've gone around and around and then around again with different options. And what we're presenting is one that we feel is a reasonable request, both by the statistics and by its impact in the neighborhood.
Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the audience? Come on, to the microphone. Your name and address, please.
My name is Ileana Martin, Ileana, last name is Martin. My address is 61 Hilltop Road. I'm the next door neighbor with the driveway that's continuous.
Sure.
So question for you.
Yes.
Did you explore using the existing breakfast room for the kitchen and then where the kitchen, that's a smaller space, as the breakfast room? So you didn't have to add all that square footage.
Yes, we did, although, again, we were trying to also add a mudroom and get all of those things, because right now there's a 2-foot wide closet, 2 feet by 2 feet. That's it of what's there. So with the access from the garage and from the backyard, or just coming off the driveway, the car's parked there, we wanted to be able to have a mudroom where there was room for a closet and all of those things.
I've been inside the house because I was friends with the old neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
I just have maybe a question for the board.
Okay.
No?
No. At the appropriate time,
It's for him.
right now, it's just questions for the witness.
Okay, so what is really the hardship? I can see a little bit of the hardship with the front because the way that the house sits in the property. But what is the hardship with relationship to FAR? The property is not undersized, and the house as it stands is almost 5,000 square feet. It's not a small house by any stretch. And you're trying to make the house almost 5,800 square feet. That's a lot of square footage. This is not a de minimis. You're not asking for like a little bit of additional square footage to accommodate the garage. You have like 180 square feet to play with. If you only enlarge the garage, you almost comply with the FAR. But here you're asking for a lot of square footage, for a lot of additional square footage. And I see your point that it's in the back, but if each property gets bigger and bigger,
So
and
what's your question here?
sorry. So my question is,
Yes.
what is the hardship?
Okay, so
What's the hardship?
there are several ways to that New Jersey municipal land use law addresses that. And one is the structures that are legally existing on the site. And that's what the existing house, and it can be the existing structure and the way that it's organized and the scale, the rooms and where they are. And although it may be possible to do all kinds of changes all throughout the house, there's an acceptable hardship in this is the way that the house is, and if there isn't a real practical way to achieve the goals, and the test is whether the property can sustain the additional development.
Well, I lived next door to that house for 27 years, and that house looks really big on that piece of property already.
Once again, this is time for questions,
Okay.
so you'll have time to make comments.
What
So,
is Hilltop?
Hilltop?
That's where
Well,
you're saying-
Hilltop is like parallel to East Hartshorn. My house also faces Oki, even though the
Okay.
address is on Hilltop.
yeah, so you're
I
actually,
see.
yeah, you're right. Well, that's interesting. Yeah, we'll have time for comment if you'd like to make a comment. Any other questions for, Mr. Rosen or the applicant? Then I will move to comments. So if anyone has any comment regarding it, please come on up.
You can go ahead.
Well, someone's coming, can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
If you remove the garage addition, where are you on FAR?
Currently, we're at 33.7. If the garage addition is removed, both front and back, it takes off 279 square feet, which is 1.6, a little over 1.6%. So it would be reduced from 3.7 over to 2.1% over.
So you're still over.
Yes, still over, but 2.1 instead of 3.7.
As mentioned, we're going to switch to comments. If you have a comment, please come up. We were swearing you in, okay? So please.
Raise your right hand. Are you both speaking?
No, I would.
Raise your right hand. Do you swear affirm testimony about to give in tonight's proceeding be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes, I
Your
do.
name and address. You gotta keep your voice up.
Oh, yes, I do.
Name and address.
My name is Wei Wei Ling,
Just spell it.
WEIWEI, last name Ling, LIN.
Address.
Address 44 East Harshon Drive.
Okay, and where are you in relation to the property in question? Where do you live in relation to it?
Right next door, yeah. This
Okay,
is
right
our
there,
house.
okay. And you're not going to be speaking today, correct? Okay, that's fine, because we swear you in as well.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay, sure. Good evening. So my name is Wei Wei Ling. I'm the property owner of 44 East Harshon Drive, right next door to our neighbor at 46 East Harshon. So I am here tonight to raise several concerns we have about the proposed two-story addition to the back of the property. So I have with me some photos that I
Okay.
believe are very important.
So what do these photos depict? Is that
Yes.
that?
yes,
Okay, fine.
yes.
So basically your neighborhood around your home? Is that
Right,
what it is?
right.
Hold on a second, hold on, I'm sorry.
We're going to label that, okay? Hold on.
So can I just hand them out with now?
So what are you, is what you're handing out,
Uh-huh.
what is being shown right here, the 6 photos?
Yes.
Okay, so you can hand it out. We're
Okay.
gonna mark that as 01
Okay.
with today's date.
All right, so,
So these photos are not being included in the variance application document, so these are new.
right.
Right.
So obviously you get your photos. Or you just have the rest and I'll pass them around. I'll take them all.
Thank you.
Sure.
And let me just ask you, did you take these photographs yourself?
Yes.
And when did you take them?
This past weekend,
I'm sorry?
like,
This past weekend?
yeah, like Saturday.
So like the 18th.
Yeah,
Maybe.
okay,
Go with that.
okay.
Okay.
Okay, so, so this is the photo number 1. This is the Google satellite view of 46 East Harshon and 44 East Harshon. So this is 46 that requests the variance, and this is our building. So this is the property line here, right here. Okay. So as we can see, this is a very unique situation because the building of 46 East Harshon is very close to our backyard and our house. And the second floor windows are directly overlooking our backyard and our house. So this photo number 2 is the photo that we took from our backyard. This building, the house, seems to be very large due to its size and proximity to our backyard, to the property line. We have additional photos here, like number 3, number 5, and number 6. So these photos were taken from inside our house, and they show that what we can see from the windows within our house on the first and second floors from different rooms. Okay, so 3, 5, and 6. So let me explain. According to the zoning data on the lot grading plan, so we have a photo right there, but I think you have that within the document. The building 46 East Hartshorn is not conforming to the 16 feet setback from property line. Let's take a look at this Google satellite view. So this corner of the building is only 10.55 feet from the property line, while the required setback is 16 feet. So therefore, the building is not conforming to the setback limit. The proposed 2-story addition in the back will be built where this red tree is right now. Okay, you can see from this picture, and from this picture. So this addition will result in a very massive continuous wall, which is as close as 10.55 feet to the property line. And also, this addition will bring in more windows that are closer to our house and to our backyard than the existing windows that are already overlooking our house and the backyard from a close distance. So we believe that these would cause privacy issues for us and for them as well, because we're very close. On a related note, the proposed new windows and 2 new doors on the wall facing East Hartshorn Drive in picture number 4. So you can see these are the proposed new windows and the 2 new doors, okay? So will also cause serious privacy problems as well as security issues, because these 2 doors and some of the windows, once added, will be directly facing our driveway. This is our driveway. Remember that this corner of the house is only 10.55 feet from the property line. Okay, so very close, and this is our house. Now I would like to.
Wait, so,
yeah.
hold on a second. So for number 4, what do you have there? So that's different than what we're looking at, right?
Oh, yeah,
Wait,
so
wait,
these
wait.
are the proposed.
I know they did, but I'm saying that, so
Oh.
what I want to do is I want to mark what you handed out is going to be 01, but what
01.
you have there is going to be 02.
Oh, two, okay.
Okay, so can
Okay.
you mark that as 02 right now,
Okay, sure.
please?
And I don't know if this is gonna work or not, because there's a.
And then just put 5/20/24 on it also, please. Thank you.
And explain what the Post-its represent, please.
The proposed new windows.
The new windows.
Yeah, and the 2 new doors on the first floor.
So what's the source of the information for you for those windows?
The variance, the documents, the packet, yes, yeah. Okay, so now I would like to comment on the positive criterion section in the variance application document, which you should have copies of. So one statement reads, quote, "The property is oversized for the R5 zone and all other bulk standards are in compliance," end quote. First, I am not sure why a house being oversized is a positive criterion. As I understand, a house being oversized means it is out of character because it's too large for the lot, right? Second, the statement that all other bulk standards are in compliance is simply not true, because as I just showed, the building is only 10.55 feet from the property line at the corner, while the required setback is 16 feet.
So another statement reads, quote, "The rear addition is well screened by existing vegetation and has limited visibility from the neighboring property. The fact is that the second level of the proposed two-story addition will be highly visible from our house and from our backyard." As we can see from these three pictures, 3, 5, and 6. Okay, so in photo number 6, so these are the two, two sides of the, building in the back, and the addition will be right here in the place of this red tree. So we can see that it is highly visible from both first floor windows and the second floor windows. And this will be a massive continuous wall. And the corner of the wall is only 10.55 feet from our property line. The existing vegetation is not tall enough, and these trees will not grow tall enough to fully screen the two-story addition, the second level, as we can see from the pictures. Now, I also want to comment on some additional negative criterion. So the proposed rear two-story addition will significantly impact our privacy, as I just said. And it is already possible to look directly into our breakfast nook and the kitchen. This is, our kitchen window, breakfast nook window. And this addition will only exaggerate that problem. The proposed addition of 4 windows and 2 doors here on this wall, on this side of the building, will also greatly impact our privacy, as they're directly facing our, driveway. Therefore, we believe that the proposed rear two-story addition will make an already suboptimal situation even worse, and will increase the nonconformity of an already nonconforming property. So lastly, I would like to point out that on the lot grading plan in the packet, the proposed new doors, these 2 new doors, facing East Hartshorn, have landings. And this seems to be an incomplete plan because there are no paved surface planned around the landings, according to the lot grading plan map. I am not sure if there will be future plans to, further complete it. So in conclusion, I would like to highlight that the proposed additions raised several concerns regarding privacy, conformity to zoning regulations, and the potential adverse effects on neighborhood security. It is imperative that these concerns are carefully considered before any decisions are made. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comment? Go on, we swear you in, so.
Sure.
And you get the record.
Do you swear testimony about the given tonight's proceeding to be true, whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Sure, yes.
Name for the record and address.
Ileana Martin. Did you say something?
Address.
Address, 61 Hilltop Road, Short Hills. So as far as my comments, I have to disagree with you about the character of the neighborhood. The R5, the houses in the R5 are clearly, the properties are clearly smaller than the properties at the dead end of East Hartshorn that are enormous, and the houses down Woodfield that are much bigger, even on the other side of Hilltop, where the other zone starts. All those houses, or many of those houses, have 3-car garages. There are actually 2 houses in our neighborhood that have 3-car garages, and one is across the street from them on East Hartshorn, and one is a couple houses down. But those garages did not beget, those variances did not beget other variances. Their application for a 3rd-car garage begets the front yard variance and the FAR variance. And again, the FAR variance that the garage creates is not so big, but then they're asking for all this other square footage. And that concerns me because I don't understand why to grant all these variances that really don't have a real hardship to be. There's also, I have a little bit of a concern with drainage because there's water that comes out from their basement, from a sump pump or something. I know they've done a whole engineering plan, so I'm assuming that would not be a problem with the additional square footage. I'm sure that has been addressed, or I hope so. But again, and also they don't park a car in the garage because they have a lift inside the garage, so they actually park 3 cars inside of their garage, which I'm sure is not the most convenient thing. I'm more concerned about the FAR variance really than the garage variance. So I just wanted to note that. And if this does get granted, I would ask for some screening along our driveway because, it's not really screened.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any further comment from the audience? In that case, I will close the public portion of this application.
Just want to remind everyone, this is there's an FAR variance involved in the request for relief, requires 5 affirmative votes. We should identify who the 7 voting members are as you think about and deliberate on this application.
So if it does come to a vote, we'll take it 2 separate votes, one for the variance and one for the C.
Yes, thanks.
So, thoughts? Priscilla, you will be voting on this. Okay. Don't all rush.
I guess I'll start. There was a lot of discussion, especially the FAR variance, and we heard from the neighbors, and I think, we heard some valid concerns from the neighbors about distance from their houses and size of the home and how it impacts their homes. I have frankly similar concerns. I'm not sure, although you testified to the positive and negative criteria, I'm not sure that this instance really meets those requirements. And I have concerns about the amount of FAR being added to this house. It's quite a lot over what's the existing house, which is a big house. I don't think I would support that. Maybe if one were to say, well, maybe we just want the garage, and that's pretty much in line with what FAR they have left. Like I could imagine I could support something like that, but I don't think I can support this in total.
Thank you.
I'll go next, straight in line. I have similar issues with the FAR, but I go further. I have an issue with the setback on the garage. I mean, the building was designed, as you know, it steps back as you move further down. And that's why it's continuing to meet that 40-foot at that point. To just say, I would throw an extra garage on it, it'll be 10 feet closer to the side, to the street. That doesn't sit well, I don't think. I think it's out of character with the neighborhood. As you drive down along, you're going to see this, the addition sticking out where it's, designed as you drive along to set back and back and back. So that's my 2 cents.
I agree with everything you've said. Gorgeous area, by the way. But I am concerned, and I share the neighbors' concerns about, will this fit in our 5 district? Does it fit into the neighborhood? So I share your concerns.
I would echo those comments, and I think the neighbors' concern about the property being too close to the property, and even after the construction comes even closer, the entire of that the side of the house, plus this, what Joe mentioned about adding closer to the line, having less than 40 feet front yard setback. I think those are all concerns which are valid. And I could support part of it, but not as it is presented.
Can I motion to open the public portion of the meeting, please?
Move to open.
A second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So, I think you smell what they're cooking here. So, what do you want to do? Would you like us to move forward with this section vote? Would you like to take another look at this? What are your thoughts?
Well, we would like to have a successful resolution to this in some way. I hear the comments that have been made. Can I take this opportunity to correct a couple of the comments?
You can, but I think you get the.
I understand
Big
it.
picture,
I just wanted to mention that the 10.55 or 10.6, that was decided in 1988. The thing the piece that we're adding on the back of the house does not change the silhouette. It doesn't do any of those things. Essentially all of the privacy is achieved by the arborvitaes on the Rostons property. The addition itself is fully compliant in setback, but not in FAR. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. And with regard to the improvements that I think are really significant, nice things facing East Hartshorn, to take a blank wall that you can see on your the photos that were just presented and so on, to put windows there. If you look at the site plan, they go essentially straight out to East Hartshorn. They clip maybe the end of the driveway. The ordinance does not say that you're not allowed to see another house
No, I
from your
understand.
property.
You're not here tonight for fenestration issues.
Right.
So we're not.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that those, yeah,
It's not
those-
a debate. You can put those in tomorrow.
yes,
So that's
Right.
not, that's not on the table tonight.
right, and that the additions are compliant in building coverage and lot coverage. And so in the description, when it says that all of the other bulk standards for the addition is what we're referring to for the setbacks and so on. Just wanted to,
So
clear
getting
that
back
up.
to my initial question,
yes,
you don't have the votes.
correct.
What would you like to do?
Hold on 1 second.
Sure.
So there was a question Mr. Simon asked me about the FAR without the garage. If we remove the garage from the project, with the piece to the front, the piece to the back, that removes 279 square feet. It removes 1.6%, so that the floor area ratio variance would be the sole variance that we would be seeking. I think that it would address Mr. Caulfield's comments about the front yard setback, the stepping back, and then some of those comments were echoed by other people who spoke subsequently. And we would be willing to drop the garage from the project so that we can move ahead with the other parts of kitchen, breakfast area, mudroom, and upstairs, the 2 closets and a bathroom. That addition is compliant in its location. There isn't a privacy issue that can't be solved with adding a couple of trees or something in the backyard there. So anyway, I just wanted to see whether that's something that might be.
Privacy is a two-way street, the way I look at it. Neighbors have to, it's not necessarily for this neighbor to make sure it's private for the other neighbor. So.
Right.
While I understand the plea of the competing neighbor, clearly an effort's been made with the arborvitae that's been put up.
Mhm.
You know, I would argue that if the other person wants it more private, that's on them. So what do we have for numbers? What are we talking about here?
So the building coverage, lot coverage are already compliant, so they go down by 1.6%. The floor area ratio goes down by 1.6% to 32.1, 2.1% over the allowable 30%. The front yard setback variance disappears. The third garage bay variance disappears.
Right, so really you just look.
We have a single variance
Floor area
for
ratio.
2%, 2.1% over on FAR for
Looks like someone practiced this a little bit, huh?
I have the numbers in my head.
Yeah. wow.
So that-
Somebody pulled that out of their pocket.
That
Um,
translates into 400.
I anticipate possible questions. I'm sorry.
That translates into 400 square feet, roughly 2.1%.
2.1% is really more like 360 something, yeah. We all have calculators in our pockets, but yes.
I just want to get it right, because if you do get this, we want to make sure you have it.
All
So,
right.
Just a quick question. The prevailing yard setback was solely related to the addition of the third garage?
Yes.
Thanks for confirming that.
The front yard setback was, yes.
Prevailing front yard
Yes.
setback.
so
I'd just be interested in what the comments would be for,
on that offer,
yeah.
um,
I mean, it seems to address many of the concerns, perhaps not all.
yeah, before we rack our brains here, what were your thoughts on eliminating the front yard setback, eliminating portion of the FAR, just building on the back of the house?
So the FAR is still, is 31,
32.1,
32.
and it was 360 square feet, Mr. Harjani.
Yeah, so we lose the maximum garage space variance, we lose the prevailing front yard setback variance, all we're left with is a 2.1?
2.1, yes.
2.1% deviation on FAR.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, the 2.1% equals 360. Since the existing FAR is below, that's not the total addition. But it's 2.1% over. So 2.1 times the size of the property, 17,184, gets us to 360 square feet.
360 is the excess.
Yes, yes, just wanted to clarify that because I wasn't sure exactly how your question was phrased.
And doing the math, we were at 28.9%.
Mhm.
That adds another 180. So the new addition is 360 plus roughly about 180 or 180.
Right, right,
Which is about
530, 540.
540 square feet.
Hear me, what would happen, what would you have to eliminate now to be compliant? Because it is a pretty large house already. So I think it is fun to play let's make a deal, and I appreciate the attempt to get the numbers down to be more compliant, but it is still over, even if it's only in air quotes 2.1, it is still over. The FAR in a very large house, already a pretty great
Right.
house.
And in New Jersey municipal land use law, and I'm no expert, I defer immediately to Mr. Simon on this, but my understanding is that a hardship when needed, for C variances, it could be just that the positives outweigh the negatives. No hardship is needed for a C2 variance. But for the D variance, one of the hardships can be a variety of things. It can be the existing house or the existing structure on the property. It can be natural features on the property. It can be the position of the house on the property. This house, when it was built in 1988, was put into a position where there are setbacks, the side yard setback instead of 16, the 10.55 that was mentioned. Those were approved back then, and I don't even know what the requirements were in 1988, but it seems to me that the basic question of can the property sustain the additional development, this addition does not change the silhouette of the house from any angle. There can be windows on that. The whole wall could be opened up as it is. So there isn't the same kind of privacy issue. It's simply whether it makes sense for good planning and within the house to have a kitchen that you don't have to walk through, that's less safe, it's just not the way that most kitchens, even on much smaller houses, have. But the fact that the house is there, we could get to a number by just slicing pieces off in various places, but that's not what the intent of the variance process is. It's to say that if it's not practical to do it one way or another way, then there's the balance that this board finds between individual property rights, which could be construed as, I would like to do this, individual property rights versus community interests. And in this case, if we take the garage off, the community interests, I think, are that there's no change to the streetscape. There's nothing that anybody could notice except by coming onto the single adjacent neighbor's property and going not so much from the house, because again, the silhouette is the same, but coming over to the property and trying to look and make that judgment. I think the statistic is over by 2.1%, but the impression of the house is unchanged from the front and mildly changed from the back, because the issue of privacy or whether there are windows there, that can all happen. Yes.
With all due respect to Mr. Rosen, I think he's conflating a lot of different land use concepts, okay? So just so the record's clear and the board's clear. If they're proposing to eliminate the third garage and therefore the front yard setback deviation, we're left with this 2.1% overage on FAR, okay? You know, for an FAR variance, because we've done a number of them, there's two prongs, positive and negative criteria. The positive criteria is part of showing special reasons, good reasons for the proposal, is that the property can accommodate an FAR that is in excess of what is required, in this case for the R5 zone. Okay, that's the positive criteria. The negative criteria still is, if you add this extra FAR, does it cause substantial detriment to the neighborhood? And/or does it cause substantial impairment to the master plan or zoning ordinance, right? So negative criteria, two prongs, and you can even consider the positive criteria is in this case sort of two prongs, in that you have to primarily look to see whether the 2.1% overage can be withstood given the size of the lot and the configuration. I'm comfortable with that explanation. No surprise.
With that, I'll close the public portion of the meeting. So with the current offer on the table, once again, 2.1% FAR, we'll lose the garage, three-car garage variance, along with the front yard setback variance. So that's what's on the table. Thoughts on that?
All right, I struggle with this. And I guess what I'm struggling with is when I look at, I see that the kitchen is narrow and maybe, I don't know if it meets the positive criteria per se, but I see that there is some level of inefficiency or perhaps inutility with how that was designed. But I could also see that you could do a one-story addition, call it, that fixes that and probably stays within the FAR allowable or very close to that. And what you lose is upstairs 2 walk-in closets and a bathroom. And so I struggle with this, like, does that matter or does it not matter? I don't know if that really, this 2-story addition really is, meeting the criteria, and then there's still the negative, right? A 1-story addition probably doesn't disturb anybody in the community or interfere with the master plan. a two-story addition, it does. And that's where I'm not decided one way or the other, but I'm sort of struggling.
I'm sorry. I'm just going, I'm pretty much parroting her the entire time here. It seems to me that even with, because you're so close on FAR, even when if you're not doing anything, it seems even if you lose the second floor, you're still going to be above your FAR, right? You think? I'm sorry, it's like public portion is closed. It seems to me, I did the numbers real quick in my head. I think there's.
And you think there's still low? So I don't know.
So I'm gonna hop in and say, that I agree with both of you. I have to say, one of the things I've noticed in my time on the zoning board is that a strategy is to come in with asking for everything and then coming down, but you're still over, but I feel like you're still over. So I feel like, been there, done that. I feel like it's such a cliche that I feel like everybody does it just to get us to say yes. But I am sympathetic to the neighbor's concern. I'm sympathetic that it's just a beautiful, big, giant house. And gosh, how much of a hardship is it to live in a house that's so gorgeous and big already? And I do understand the need to do the kitchen, and I'm wondering if, I don't know if the hardship that's presented by this being on a corner is enough for me to say you need to add, to go over the FAR.
I agree with that comment, and I think what Amy mentioned could be an elegant solution. I'm not proposing anything here, but that could take half of that area away, which is the 540 square feet addition. If you just keep it one story, I mean, just thinking aloud, and that could take away even the 2% maybe, which you're over.
All right, well, you want to vote on that or no?
1 second.
And by vote on it, I mean voting on what you propose. We're not voting on what they're proposing. We're voting on what you're proposing.
Yeah,
You want to vote on
Yes.
2.1?
I understand what the vote is.
And keep in mind, so we have, as this board is aware, the legal doctrine of res judicata. What res judicata means is that if you say, I want you to vote on X, whatever X is, it's up to the applicant. The board doesn't design the project. The board votes on X, and the board turns it down because you don't get the 5 affirmative votes. If you can't just say, okay, we're now going to, reduce it by, 0.1%, just giving you an example. We want you to vote again. Because what the law says is that if you get denied, you can't come back with, in essence, a de minimis, essentially a de minimis change and say, okay, well, now we want you to vote on this. Because the board could say, well, look, under the doctrine of res judicata, this is not a substantial change. There hasn't been any changes in your neighborhood. So as a matter of law, we're not even going to vote on it, right? Because you decided to go for the vote the first time, you got denied, and you're not changing enough to allow you under the doctrine of res judicata to allow us to take a second vote. And I always state that to applicants, especially those without counsel, so you understand the legal ramifications of asking for a vote, not just in terms of 5 affirmative votes to get an approval, but be careful what you ask for in that
Thank you. What we would like to do is to consider the comments of the board and continue the application to the next meeting. I appreciate the comments, and I appreciate the way the board is seeking the right balance here. We have those statistics because, well, we were talking outside here tonight, because we can see that sometimes things don't go fully the way that an applicant wants. Those numbers were developed maybe an hour and a half ago, just in case, to see what a fallback position might be. Anyway, thank you for your comments. We'd like to continue, and we'll see you
What do we got?
soon.
What do we have for date?
What kind of time do you need?
I think that we'd like to come back as soon as we can.
The first,
June 3rd.
June 3rd.
Well, I mean.
Well, but if they're going to, if they're going to be revising plans, they should be submitted at least 10 days
I would
prior.
need, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah, you may want to consult your neighbor this time around. Just saying.
Yeah, there were conversations.
Okay.
I mean, we could do July 1st. I don't know, the 17th has paper mill on it. I can't put it on it. Paper mill is coming
On July 1st.
on the
On the
17th, so I
17th.
really don't, I have two others on it, I really don't want to put it, it's gonna take a
Yeah,
long
so
time. So July 1st, probably would be last chance. Now, Chandru, I know is not gonna be here,
That's right.
so.
Oh, I won't be here in July.
Okay.
all right.
And I won't be here in July. I'm not here in July.
Could be swayed if you said nice.
So, we have,
They may want to carry to when, if we have some board members who are not going to be around in July. And since we've already heard a lot of the testimony, you might want to carry to a time when the board members who have already heard the application are able to hear the end of it.
so.
It's assuming that, you know, we were.
What do you have in June again?
It's June 3rd, and that would have the, June 3rd, I would need it by Friday, that's 10 days.
June 3rd, so we would have to have a revised drawing to the bottom. Right. Yeah.
I would need to try to do it.
If we're, if
You can do it. We'll do it. So June 3rd?
the only issue is that if we don't have the time, I don't know what
That's the
your
problem. You have to-
schedule and.
Look, at this point, you have to do what you think is gonna be reasonable. You know. So I mean, if you want that data, take the date, because maybe you're looking at August.
Yeah. August is not desirable. June 3rd. We'll take June 3rd.
Okay.
And if it turns out you can't,
I'll let you know.
we'll just.
Yeah, if it doesn't work out, we'll move it. But, all right, so, for the interested parties that are here, this will be moved to June 3rd, no further notice. If there are any amended plans that are published on the website. we'll leave it.
Stop.
Okay.
June 3rd. It's probably gonna be on the agenda for that, I just realized.
What
No,
is?
that's okay, that's okay, put it on, so don't worry about it then, I can't worry about it, so.
Yeah, let's cross that bridge when we come to it. So St. Rose and.
Paper mill is coming on the 17th.
That's it.
Rosie's is potentially coming on the 3rd, that's what I
Right.
was told.
The third is, once again, for those interested parties, we're planning on having it on the 3rd. There's no further notice, any corrections or changes to the plans will be put on the website or posted as well.
Is everybody gonna be here on the 3rd?
What's that?
Everyone gonna be here on the 3rd?
June.
Yes. I might
Right.
take off. I'm just saying. It's gonna be a long, yes, okay.
All right. There you go.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, folks. Anyone in the audience have anything to discuss on the agenda this evening? Else anyone, so, we have to go to adjourn. So move. On a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Have a good evening.
Thank you.